All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Thursday, July 24th. I am on time, baby. Actually, I'm a minute early. I am here. We are live. Folks, we got earnings today after the bell. Intel, Coca-Cola, and Deckers, not the biggest companies in the world, but still three companies that are important. Coca-Cola, consumer, Deckers, consumer, and then Intel, semiconductors. Intel not really been doing the best over the past couple of years, been range bound for the majority of 2025, but we'll see if this quarter they can put up some good earnings. The real story of the day is Tesla and Google, which as we get into the last 15 minutes, by the way, S&P 500 hit 636. It's going to close probably 634.50, maybe 635. It's up about 0.13% on the day, but it was up almost 1% on the day. Yesterday it was up 0.5%. So we've just been seeing incredible momentum on the S&P 500, hitting new all-time highs back-to-back on Wednesday and Thursday. Tesla right here, 306. So Tesla bottomed at 300.41. There were 41 cents away from going below 300. The bulls stepped in at that $300 range. I was one of the people that stepped in, 302. Bought 10 shares at 302. So not a major purchase, but 10 shares at 302. Bought a little bit of the dip. Nothing too crazy. But I decided, all right, you're going to go down 10%. I will take a little bit of the dip. So got those 10 shares at 302. And then Google, unfortunately, has not been able to meaningfully have a response after earnings that's exciting. 192, basically, I mean, it's up 1% on the day, but relatively flat over the past couple of days, given the run it had going into earnings. Hit 198 in the morning, then dumped, and it looks like it's going to close in the green, but not massively in the green. So yeah, Google and Tesla, stories of the day. Tesla again, nasty day, nasty dip, down 7.9%. Hopefully recovers above that $300 range, or maybe that 300 was just safety for today, but it's going to be lookout below going into the coming weeks. And then Google right here at 192. Bitmine, that's up 10%. Tom Lee doubled his Ethereum holdings. They now have $2 billion worth of Ether on the balance sheet. Nvidia right here trying to get to 174. MicroStrategy is green on the day. Robinhood trying to go over 102. Palantir, no fundamental news on Palantir other than Trump shouting them out at the AI summit yesterday. So Palantir right here at 155. But other than that, nothing too crazy in terms of the news. American Eagle kind of lost all of its pump, which was instilled by Sydney Sweeney. It was up 25% in the morning. Now it is up 3%. ETH right here, 37, got a little bit of a move. And then you had Open Door, which was up almost 25% at one point during the day at 297, now at 244. Looks like it's going to close green, but probably not as green as it was in the morning. So those are some of the main stories that we have. We have a lot of other stuff to talk about in regards to some of the things going on in the macro, but the earnings after the bell will be very important to discuss as well. Now, Trump has already met with Jay Powell. They met, I think, 30 minutes ago is when it was reported that he went to the Federal Reserve. We're going to be getting details on that meeting soon, and then we're going to see what ends up playing out. Actually, let's get some details right here. Either they met already or Trump is on the way to meeting him, but we'll probably learn about what happens after that meeting is done, and we'll see if it maybe changes Jay Powell's mind.
Expected at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, 4 p.m. So they should be meeting in about 15 minutes. Maybe while we're live on the close today, we'll actually get some updates on how the meeting went.
Ahead of that, the Federal Reserve invited some reporters over to take a look at the construction site. Remember, the president is angry at cost overruns of this construction site. This is the video that was taken by reporters just a short time ago inside the construction site. You can see this is a near total gut job of the Federal Reserve headquarters building. There are two buildings here at stake. The main iconic one that you've seen on television called the Eccles Building, and then next to it is 1951 Constitution Avenue, which has been purchased by the Fed. They're getting extensive renovations, reporters getting a chance to take a look at all of that. The Fed saying that a lot of this expense and cost overrun is due to the historic nature of these buildings. They have to consult with the National Capital Planning Commission in order to renovate them and keep everything in historical context right on the National Mall there. Also, there's some real high-tech security features and some low-tech security features, blast-resistant glass. They've also got construction designed for progressive collapse in the case of an explosion, that is, so that only parts of the building would collapse in the case of an attack. They're also going to have to meet modern codes around Americans with Disabilities Act, upgrading to environmentally friendly standards and the like. The Fed has said that there are no luxuries here that are out of order. There's no new elevator going up to a private dining room. The Fed says, reporters say that at the site there. They showed them the elevator that goes up and said it's only been moved by about 18 inches. That's the existing elevator that's there. Nonetheless, you can expect the president to make quite a bit out of these cost overruns, which have been substantial over the years at this headquarters building, and continue to put that political pressure on Jay Powell. The president wants him to raise rates, and he's going to use this event to put pressure on Powell and say he's mismanaging the Fed in a very visual way that maybe a lot of Americans might resonate with.
So the president, again, wants him to cut rates. The question is going to be, will he have enough pressure on this meeting to cut rates? I don't think anything meaningful is going to happen from this meeting, but it will be important to see if there's anything that can be said. We had Besant yesterday at the AI conference say that he talks to Powell every single week at breakfast, and he has still not been able to convince him that 25 basis points is not going to ruin the economy. So I don't know if Trump's going to be able to do anything different this time as well. Here are the earnings we have on deck. See, it's sometimes you just become a natural. Sometimes you just become a natural. The earnings we have on deck, starting off with Deckers, ticker symbol DEC, 105.19. That's down about 2% of the day. Deckers got into the S&P 500 before Palantir, which is when I really started learning more about them. They sell a lot of outdoor gear, sneakers, all that stuff. So this is big on the consumer. $15 billion market cap. I mean, they're not even eligible to be in the S&P 500 anymore because you have to have a $22 billion market cap. But that one's down 2.7%. Intel, that's down 3% of the day. Coca-Cola, that's down basically nothing. And then DLR, NEM, and KNSL. I don't know these companies too well, but Newmont, Digital Realty, and then Kinsale Capital. Those are the other earnings that we have today. Let me know in the chat which one you guys have bought or sold, or if you're doing an earnings play. I mean, these companies are just like not the most exciting ones. They're also not the most volatile ones. I mean, the most volatile is Intel out of these. So we're going to see how these reports play out. But outside of that, I mean, doesn't seem like there's going to be anything too crazy going into earnings. Coursera has earnings today. Okay, let's pull them up. COUR, that stock right here. I think dumb money. I think Chris Camillo likes this stock. This one's up 2% of the day. $1.48 billion company. So we will get their earnings as well. Oh yeah, Deckers. They do own Uggs. That's correct. I forgot. Deckers does own Uggs. Kinsale is a insurance company. Okay, I did not know that. Kinsale is an insurance company. UNH, speaking of insurance, on the day, wow, down 5%. So it was down 5% in the morning, kind of recovered back to 284, and now it's back down. It looks like that DOJ investigation is definitely catching some headlines, and people are getting a bit worried about that, and that's creating some of the pain. Tesla right here, I mean, look, it's doing a good job holding 300. If it was going to go below 300, I think it would have happened today. Plenty of buyers stepped in at that range. So can it go below 300? Of course. Does it have to? I don't think so. And so maybe if it stays range bound in this level, again, my range is kind of 280 to 350, but maybe it decides to stay around that 300, 315 range, then I don't think that would be crazy either. Bitmine right here up about 8.4%. Micron's up 1.7%. I don't know why SBET is down today, 9%, while Bitmine is up. Maybe SBET did some dilution. That stuff always tends to happen. We do know they have billions of dollars that they can use to dilute, so that could be a reason, and maybe Bitmine's just not diluting, right? And so that's why that one's not down versus the other one actually being down. Oscar, I did not see today. Oh boy, Oscar down almost 11%. The insurance names are in a weird situation. Every time they try to get a little bit of momentum, they just get hit with a day with a day like this and a nasty wick to the downside. But then they got hit with a wick to the upside in the pre-market. Oscar was at 1635. So this one is a bit weird. I think the entire market is trying to figure out what exactly is happening with insurance. The share vote is today. Is that for SBET? Okay, so if they have a shareholder vote today, that could definitely be creating a little bit of volatility as well. And we could see what's going on. Thank you for the $20 super chat. What do you think about DEC earnings today? Honestly, I have no clue what to expect for DEC. Let's put up some of the expectations. I mean, I don't shop at Deckers. I don't know a lot of people that do, but they are a pretty strong brand, and they've been known. They're known definitely domestically in the United States and, of course, across the world as well. But not sure exactly if they're going to be able to deliver. Street's expecting $900 million in revenue and 68 cents of EPS. $900 million in revenue and 68 cents of EPS. My big concern for Deckers is, can they just show the consumer's not weak? We had a couple companies already come out and say the consumer is weak. Chipotle did that in the morning. Delta went the opposite. Levi's went the opposite. But Chipotle and American Airlines said, hey, we are thinking the consumer is a bit weak. Now, maybe that's a Chipotle issue and American Airlines issue, since other companies in the same sectors said the opposite. But you can't really have a trend of multiple companies saying it's a consumer problem, because then there might actually be a consumer problem. Intel, Street wants 1 cent per share of profit, net income, and $11.8 billion of revenue. So hopefully we're going to see that play out. Oh, do we have a Google headline? Do we have a Google headline? Let's see. Let me see if I can pull this up. Google, again, those earnings were incredible, but it was just not able to get that much momentum. Oh, hold on. We got a Trump tweet right here. Getting ready to head over to the Fed to look at their now $3.1 billion construction project. Also present will be Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Pulte will be there. Oh, that's going to be awkward, bro. That's going to be awkward. Pulte has been tweeting about J-Pow nonstop. Okay, so Pulte will be there, some senators will be there, some congressmen will be there, and various other construction professionals. All right, he tweeted at 3:41. It's 3:55. It looks like in the next 30 to 40 minutes, we're going to get some updates on how that meeting went. Google, here's the headline. Google wins $1.2 billion multi-year cloud deal from ServiceNow. Okay, ServiceNow, they had a great earnings. That stock is up 4%. Google, no one cares. Google's not doing anything. No one cares. 1.2 billion is nice though. I mean, that's it's not bad. I don't know how many years that's for. If that's like a 10-year deal, then it's not adding that much to the bottom line. If it's like 3 to 4 years, that's pretty good. But there you go. Google, 1.2 billion multi-year cloud deal from ServiceNow. We'll get some more stats on that in a bit. Stock not really reacting too much to that after hours. Yes, SBET is now no longer the largest holder of ETH. It is definitely BMNR. They have 2 billion. SBET has 280,000, if I'm not wrong, and BMNR has about 560,000. Amid any reason why Netflix is down, it is very interesting, right? Because Netflix is also a big part of the market. The market, when I mean the market, the S&P 500 is hitting all-time highs today. And usually when that happens, you get some of the big names, even if they are expensive, which I will, objectively, Netflix is expensive. They tend to rally with it. So although you got the S&P kind of going flat today, the fact that it hit all-time highs and you had some of these other names kind of go down, the fact that Google could not even get above 200 while the S&P was at all-time highs, it goes to show there's just a sort of stock-picking market mentality that's going on right here. And some names are getting the love, some names are not getting love. Speaking of names that are getting love, we had a dark pool order, which it might not be love, it might be hate, of 1.7 million shares for NVIDIA. 1.75 million shares, spot price 173, $303 million was brought in. Now, on the dark pool, you don't know if someone bought or sold. You just know that an order went through. The question is, did someone buy these many shares or sell them? Based on NVIDIA's price action, one could argue it looks like they probably bought today. I think Jensen sold about $37 million worth of shares yesterday as well. Bezos also sold some Amazon yesterday, about $150 million. But someone did partake in this play on NVIDIA, 1.7 million shares. Also, speaking of option flows, we got 3 minutes until the market closes. Someone bought $640 S&P 500 calls expiring in 2 weeks. So that's $20 million worth of S&P 500 calls. I mean, if we get 640, that would be exciting. And we're close. We're at 630. We got to 636 today. So it's like, although Tesla's taking a beating, and Google's not really getting any love, broader S&P is doing okay. NVIDIA right here, 173. Where's AMD? It was at 163 in the morning, 162. I don't think you could be upset on a 162 close on AMD. It hit 163.93, so very close to that 164 level. Palantir right here, 155. If we get a 155 or 154.50 close, that would be awesome to see. Nike's down about 1% on the day. D-Wave down 2%. SoundHound down 2%. Coinbase flat. Kohl's down 8%. No, that's not Kohl's. That's Koss. Kohl's is actually up 10%. And then Opendoor right here up about 4% as well on the day. Yeah, maybe it was Pelosi. Pelosi's in the same Google calls as me. And if we get 210, we both break even. So maybe we get there. Yeah, Bloom Energy and Oracle got a deal as well. How's that stock? BE. Today's the first day I heard of Bloom Energy. That stock, wow, 23% on the day. We played a bunch of clips this morning about Jensen and Trump talking about energy and how crucial energy will be to AI. I mean, it's not going anywhere. Oh, speaking of energy and how much we need it, we're going to need more of it because Sam Altman, well, The Verge is reporting that OpenAI is going to release GPT-5 by early August. Now, Sam Altman has kind of teased this, so I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not pretty sure, but it feels kind of accurate based on all the things that Altman's been tweeting about. I don't know if it's going to be exactly early August or end of August, but GPT-5 is coming, and they have to get it out soon because Grok 4 just came out. Gemini's at 450 monthly active users. Meta's getting ready to build a new closed model, and they're stealing everyone from OpenAI. So, I mean, you can't wait any longer to get these new models out. That is more demand for NVIDIA, AMD, Broadcom, all the semiconductors, and a lot more energy that we need. It just feels like this build out is not stopping, which is why you could potentially argue the multiple on the broader market can keep expanding if for the next at least 5 years, we're going to be building out multi-gigawatt data centers, and a lot of companies are going to be involved in the process of building that out, which will obviously be beneficial for the broader AI trade and for CapEx. And Google raised their CapEx from 75 billion to 85 billion. So got a lot of companies that are deciding it is time to spend on AI. All right, folks, here we go. We got 20 seconds until the market closes. We got a bunch of other headlines, and then we have Intel, Coke, and Deckers on the bell, and we will see what we've got for earnings. Thursday, July 24th. We are almost done with July, 4 p.m. The stock market has now closed. All right, there you go. S&P 500 ends flat on the day. Flat on the day. Nothing too crazy. 634.46. We did get all-time highs at 636, but we ended flat on the day. Google up 1% on the day. Tessie, where did she end? She ended at 305.30, down 8% on the day. Micron right here was up about 1.73%. Bitmine was up 10% at 1 point, 45.70. Ended at 41.50, up about 5%. S&P again was flat. Netflix was up about 0.34%. ServiceNow up 4%. T-Mobile had a great earnings. That was up 5%. Chipotle, not the best guidance. That was down 13%. And then American Airlines as well, not the best guidance. That was down about 9.6%. Opendoor was up 5.6% on the day. AMD 162 on the close. Palantir, did we get 155? We got 154.86. Not too bad. And then Hoodie, I think we got 101.93 on Hoodie. Not too bad on the day either. UNH, we got a close of 278, kind of the low of the day, down 4.73%. Bloom Energy, that one was up about 23%. And then the NASDAQ, I think that was kind of flat as well. Yeah, basically flat, 565, along with the S&P, basically at all-time highs, but still flat on the close. Big Bear AI, that was red. That was indeed red, 1.83%. And then Rocket Lab, dude, Rocket Lab's holding on. I know it's not at 53 anymore like it was last week, but the fact that it's holding between 46 and 50, 46 and 49, down 2% on the day, but still holding 48, you got to be happy about that. A lot of people got to buy this thing at 20 to 25. And so this one holding 48 is not too bad at all. AMD right here, 162.12. All right, earnings. So we should be getting numbers very soon. Coursera, we do have a green candle right there. That's up 1%. Very small green candle, but that's green. Intel, we're getting a move. That's up 2.5. All right, Intel, let's see if she's doing it. No, now she goes red. Wow. No, now she goes green. All right, Intel, very, very, it's a candle that doesn't really have a lot of momentum towards it. It's up 1.3. It hit 24 from 22.60. It was down 3% of the day. And now it's kind of just flat. And now it's kind of just flat. Let me get some of these Intel numbers and see what we've got going on. Up, Intel, okay. This one is a bit ugly, folks. Looks like they missed pretty bad on EPS. They missed by 1,100%. They lost 10 cents a share. The street thought they would make 1 cent a share. Revenue, they beat by 8%, 12.8 billion versus 11.88 billion. EPS is down 6x year over year. Revenue is flat year over year. They likely took the EPS hit because of a 1.9 billion restructuring hit, cutting their workforce to 75,000. Okay, so if they didn't have that $1.9 billion hit on restructuring, very similar to what was the other company? Lockheed Martin that ended up taking a pre-tax loss, which hurt their EPS by like $5.80. So that's not the biggest deal in the world. It's getting a little bit of a pump. Investors can look past that. Holding 3% right here. Let me know if anyone's in this play. That's up 3.9. That's up 3.9. Now, granted, everyone's getting the numbers right now. So if people just see a negative, 1,100% miss, you're going to have people potentially just sell it off immediately. So I think it's going to take a couple minutes to see what the street thinks about it. But that one is slightly green, holding about 3.4. Anything else is moving. Coke is flat. Deckers slightly down. Kinsale flat. Newmont is up a little bit, and then Coursera is up a little bit. Coke earnings is the next one we'll look for if we can get that in a bit. Intel halts plans in Germany and Poland, slows Ohio build out. Q3 EPS guidance is 0 cents a share, revenue 12.6 to 13.6 billion. Okay, well, the fact that Intel is getting even any candle after halting Germany and Poland, slowing Ohio build out, the one company that's not slowing their Ohio build out, Anduril, they are moving pretty fast in that state. But Street's kind of okay with it, giving it a 4%. Giving it a 4%. Not too crazy. Intel's like Tesla. Yeah, they're not growing. So it's just, Intel's not worth $1 trillion anymore. Well, did it ever get to $1 trillion? What did Intel get to at its peak? It was like what, 300 billion, something like that. Intel 6% candle, something they said is getting the street excited. Don't know what it is, but whatever it is making the street think there is some momentum here. Let's get some coverage on the earnings, and then we'll go from there.
Up in a bit, up a little better than 2% at the moment initially because earnings are out. Christina Partsinevelos has the numbers. Christina.
Thanks, Don. Well, Intel reported revenue of $12.86 billion, a beat with a loss per share of 10 cents. I'm not going to compare current quarter EPS or margins to estimates due to an $800 million non-cash charge. Intel had to write down some tools it can't reuse, which hurt profitability. Looking ahead, though, Q3 revenue guidance came in strong, the midpoint at $13.1 billion, which is above estimates, possibly helping the stock right now. Gross margins and earnings per share for Q3 were a little light. I did speak to Intel CFO David Zizner just about 20 minutes ago, who said the company has completed most of its planned job cuts to reach 75,000 employees by year end. But with headcount still at 96,000 at the end of Q2, more cuts are still occurring. As for other cost-saving efforts, Intel is canceling planned projects in Germany and Poland and then consolidating a plant in Costa Rica. Zizner says that will allow for more CapEx to be directed to the United States. And they also plan to be more conservative with foundry spending. As the CEO comments are going to come out, it's no more blank checks. I also asked Intel in regards to the 18A chip process, and it's the most advanced manufacturing technology. It's meant to rival the likes of TSMC. There were reports from Reuters it might be used only for Intel's own products. Zizner said that was always the intent, adding, quote, "We haven't made nearly as much progress as we had hoped with external customers." Still, Intel is ramping up 18A volume.
All right, so that's what we got on Intel, folks. We got a bunch of headlines happening. ASTS, it looks like they diluted down 10%. I will try to get some specifics on if they are diluting. By the way, Intel, another headline we missed, 15% of their employees they're laying off. Intel, 15% of employees they are laying off. Yup, here you go. 500 million of convertible notes on ASTS. 500 million of convertible notes on ASTS. Offering is 2032. We don't have the price at which they're going to convert. We don't have the coupon rate on the convertible note either. So we're still missing some details, but 500 million of dilution. Where is Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab, not really affected, down about 0.5%. But ASTS is the one getting hit. By the way, Deckers smashing earnings up 11%. Folks, they beat by 37% on EPS, 93 versus 68 expected. They beat by 7% on revenue, 964 versus 900 million. EPS is up 24% year over year. Revenue is up 17% year over year. That's like tech company numbers on revenue and EPS. And that is a great sign for the consumer. If the consumer is able to buy these types of products, especially these types of products that have a premium attached to them, like Uggs from Decker brands, then that is not a horrible thing for the health of the consumer. That stock right here up 12%, $15 billion market cap. That is the best performer so far after hours. Coursera's up 1.72. Coca-Cola's flat. Intel lost the 7% green. Now it's 2.3% green. But ASTS is the one getting hit, down 9% right here via dilution. There you go. There you go. The one thing that's weird and not weird about this is that, well, look, I mean, the stock ran up a lot. ASTS was $25 a month ago. So, I mean, it makes sense that they're going to convert, or they're going to offer a convertible note because the prices are so attractive for them to do that. So dilution's not crazy here. But the question is, did shareholders think they were going to do this, or did they think they have enough capital? And that's the part that might be annoying some people right now. Trump is live. Hold on. Let me see. Are they streaming the meeting, bro? I didn't know they were going to stream the meeting. Are they streaming this? Yeah, they're streaming this. Holy crap. The content in chief, ladies and gentlemen. He's live. Oh my goodness. He's live. All right, here we go. Here's Trump visiting the Fed. They got construction hats on, dude. Here we go.
There he is, the president now walking through with a hard hat on, looking at the new building. I believe he was going to be with Mr.
Steve, we're
Pulte from the
just gonna go there
FHFA.
and take that shot right now as he enters the Fed building.
Overage.
Went up for a long time, and you're in charge of the committee.
Indeed, one of the reasons why I wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses. Wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just
Holy
came
crap.
out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from
Jay Powell just shaked his head and said, I'm not aware of that. Oh my goodness.
anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us.
Yes. I don't know who does that.
Bro, this can't be happening. This can't be happening, dude.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Mr. President, as a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire them.
Do you think, Mr. President,
Bro.
wants to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started, but it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So.
Mr. President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? The country's doing really well. I just briefed the chairman on the deal we made with Japan. Japan is putting up $550 billion in order to lower their tariffs a little bit. That way they have a little bit lower tariff. And they also opened their country to free trade, which nobody thought was even a possibility. And we get a zero tariff in the free trade. We don't pay tariffs, and they're going to pay 15% on everything they send into our country. So it's great. But they put up, as you could call it, seed money. Let's call it seed money. You could call it anything you want.
Guys, sorry about the lag. I don't know why it's lagging. Maybe this is too much for StreamYard to handle, but this is kind of wild. I'll switch to a different stream, see if that fixes it, but I cannot believe this is happening right now.
We get a zero tariff in the free trade. We don't pay tariffs, and they're going to pay 15% on everything they send into our country. So it's great. But they put up, as you could call it, seed money. Let's call it seed money. You could call it anything you want, but it's it's a total of $550 billion. So nobody thought any of that was possible, and it's wonderful. And we're doing pretty well with the European Union, likewise. And we have some others. They're all really big, and our country's going to make a lot of money. We would be helped if interest rates would come down, but we're going to see how the board rules on that soon. I'd love to see them come down a lot, but we have a country that's thriving. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Today we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we'll get this one finished.
Mr. President, you
Thank you.
get your own housing unfold.
That's it. That's it. I'm sorry about the lag. I don't know why it's lagging, but there you go. We'll try to see and get more updates on that. I had no idea they were streaming that, dude. No idea they were actually streaming that, which is kind of wild. I look like a potato right now too. I look like a potato, dude. I have one other tab open. I don't know why it's being like this. So I'm sorry about that. But ASTS right here still down 9%. Dude, that was crazy. Deckers is exploding, up 15%. Coursera is up 15%. Intel 2%. Coke is flat. Deckers the one really winning today right here, up 15%. I cannot believe they streamed that. And I can't believe Trump said that he would fire someone, right? Implying he would fire J-Powell. He made a joke out of that in front of him if a real estate developer in his ecosystem were to spend that much money. And then second of all, I can't believe they're wearing construction hats together going through it. It obviously seemed like a PR opportunity to show that they would be kind of okay working together, even though, you know, they don't like each other. And then J-Powell refuted all of the claims that Trump was making. He was like, we're not spending $3.1 billion. You're getting it wrong. I didn't get to hear exactly what he said, so we'll try to go back into that. But he basically said, no, you're accounting for a different building that's not just part of the Federal Reserve. And as a result, you're wrong about this. So that was pretty insane to see happen live. That was pretty freaking insane. Decker is not slowing down. That one continues to go. That one continues to go. I'm going to switch the internet to my hotspot because I don't know why it's being stupid right here. So let me see. I'm going to turn on my hotspot and we're going to switch to that in a second. Yeah, well, oh no, now it's good. Now it's good. It should be good now, right? It should be good. Yeah, I shouldn't be a tomato or not a tomato, potato. The grinder tab is not open. There's no grinder tab. Goodness. We should be good, right? Yes. Yeah, we're better. We're better. Okay, I'll play it again. I'll play it again for you guys in a bit. But my goodness, that was weird, bro. That was weird. I had no idea they were going to be streaming that. But apparently they are. Apparently they are. Yeah, at least the audio was good the whole time so you guys could hear it. Deckers, they crushed by 40%, so they continue to do what they're doing. I'll see if I can get some coverage right there on Deckers. Guidance must have been really strong as well for them to get this big of a boost, which means any company that's blaming the consumer, if that's not a trend across the entire earnings landscape, then it's hard to just say, you know, this is a consumer thing. It might be issues with, you know, the actual companies that are putting up earnings. Is HIMS down 12%? No way. HIMS is not down 12%. No, HIMS is down. You might be using Google Finance. Google Finance usually messes it up sometimes. HIMS is flat. It was down 1% of the day. ASTS, though, that one is down 9%. That one is down 9% on earnings. FIX, that stock is up 10% after hours. Comfort Systems USA, $19 billion company. I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what the hell this company does. Comfort Systems. Oh, it's an HVAC company. Dude, HVACs. It's a very, very profitable industry. All right, HVACs, 11% on their earnings. We'll try to get their earnings in a second. That's green. That is green. Newmont, all right, Newmont earnings. We got 532 on revenue, EPS 143, gold production 1.48 million ounces. Full year outlook about 5.9 million ounces. Let's see that stock. Those earnings are out, is up 2%. There you go. That one is up 2%. That is a gold mining company, and that one looks like it's green. Okay, cool. So Intel 2%, Deckers really getting the momentum up 18%. Where's Coke's earnings? We didn't get their earnings. I contribute to their earnings very well, especially because, you know, I am a big buyer of their product from Colombia. Where are the earnings? We don't have Coke yet. We don't have Coke yet. So still waiting on Coke. Deckers, 37%. That was the big beat. Coke had earnings on Tuesday. Okay, well, my calendar says they have earnings today. So my calendar obviously was wrong. So I guess we don't have Coke earnings. We did have Pepsi earnings. I thought there was Pepsi on Tuesday. I didn't think Coke was on Tuesday. I think you're right, though. I think we did have Coke on Tuesday. Yeah, you're right, because they announced that whole sugar cane stuff. Okay, so that's fine. All right, so Coke we don't have to worry about. Deckers right here. This is the story. 37%. 37%. Yes, I don't like my Coke flat either. That's a good one. Oh, wait, you guys are right. It's a different Coke. Dude, I made this mistake last time. There's two Cokes. There's Coke, and then there's KO. Why do they do this, bro? I made this mistake last time. Same exact mistake. There's CA or COKE. That one's flat. And then there's KO, which already had earnings. I don't know why they don't just consolidate them, but yes, that is true. Okay, so that one is up about 1.5%. We'll see if we can get their numbers, but KO is flat. United Health, that's flat after hours as well. Palantir's flat. Robinhood's flat. Open Door up about 1%. S&P also flat. Market's not really moving based on that J. Powell Trump thing outside of the companies that have earnings. Decker's now 19%. 19% on the day. EPS, they beat by 37%. Let me make sure the math is correct on this. EPS, yeah, 36.7% on EPS. 36.7% on EPS. They did 93 cents versus 68 cents expected. So that's why Deckers is really getting this momentum. And then ASTS, obviously, that one, sadly, you got a bit of a dump. Again, you can't be too mad. You bought ASTS around 2030. Like, you probably want them to raise some capital so they can keep with their operations. But that one doing okay. Let's get a little bit of coverage on this Trump Federal Reserve meeting, and then I will pull up the video again to show you everyone who missed it. It was about 2 minutes what the conversation was like.
As well, David Zervos has said that here on Overtime, and that the Fed isn't lowering interest rates perhaps for political reasons. But at the same time, what we just saw, the stagecraft with the hard hats and then, taking out the paper and saying the cost overruns are worse and that this is really about construction. But no, it's not. The Fed seems to be getting pulled into a political atmosphere, even as it tries to assert independence. Is it possible to get this rabbit back in the hat? Will the Fed ever be arguably completely independent again if it has to deal with this sort of political tug of war?
So there's something that I sort of like about Donald Trump in the sense that the way he pushes every institution to the limit and to find out how strong it actually is. And we are at a moment now where we are going to find out just how strong, how secure, how independent the Federal Reserve is from political pressure. Not because
So there they are, meeting right there.
the president made a couple tweets, not because that he took a Fed chair, as Roger said, as happened in the past, in the back room and yelled at him, but because he has created a public assault on the Federal Reserve and made a huge issue out of a building.
By the way, the White House has a stream up right now, and they're not streaming anything, but it says President Trump visits the Federal Reserve. So I don't know if the White House is going to have a joint press conference between both of them, but they have a stream, and we might get something more between Jay Powell and Trump.
Renovation. And we will find out, John, what is the deal? How independent is the Fed? I think if it survives this, it emerges very strong, and we'll see. I just want to make one comment on something the president said in front of the Fed chair. He said the economy is doing great, and he used the word hot. That's an inadvisable word, I would say, for the president to use to the Fed chair. You got a hot economy. I think that's a reason why the Fed may not be so interested in cutting rates. Look at jobless claims this morning.
That is a fair point. Obviously, the jobless claims we got this morning also makes it hard for Jay Powell to justify cutting. All right, here was the exchange between Jay Powell disagreeing with Trump that we just saw 10 minutes ago.
Billion went up a little bit or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Jay Powell says, I'm not aware of that. Trump said, yeah, but it just came out. And then he tries to prove that it went up to 3.1 billion for the renovation.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us.
Yes.
Look at Jay Powell. He's like, this came from us. He puts on his glasses. Dude, what simulation are we living in, bro? Like, how is this happening? This is actually happening right now.
I don't know who does that.
Are you including the Martin renovation? You just added.
That was me this morning when I saw Tesla down 10%. That's Jay Powell right here. That was me this morning when Tesla was down 10%.
Are you including the Martin renovation? You just added. You just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work. So.
It's not new.
Trump's wrong on that, bro. If they finished the Martin building 5 years ago, then you can't include whatever that costs into the current renovation, which is a pretty logical thing that Jay Powell's saying. But Trump is saying, no, it's part of the whole thing.
Building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But
So.
it's not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't. Expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not in.
And then this is the clip of him saying, "I want to lower interest rates." This is the whole part right here when they answer the question.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Mr. President, as a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire him.
Do you think this issue, Mr. President, gives you cause to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So.
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. Other than that, what can I tell you?
That was the most awkward laugh ever from J Powell. You know that laugh where you have to laugh. It's like you're with your boss or you're with your friends that you don't really like, and you just have to laugh at that joke. That was the most forced laugh I think I've ever seen before.
Yes, sir.
So.
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates.
Dude, this is wild.
Chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. Other than that, what can I tell you? The country is doing really well. I just briefed the chairman on the deal we made with Japan. Japan is putting up $550 billion in order to lower their tariffs a little bit.
Dude, what timeline are we living in? I just want to know. And then he pats him on the back. He's like, "Hey, buddy." And J Powell's just like, "Don't touch me." J Powell's just like, "Just please don't." Dude. This is kind of wild. I did not know they were going to be streaming that. Trump takes any moment he can to get a PR opportunity. He did it. At least, they were. See, the thing about Trump is again, Twitter, all this stuff. When he looks at the person, he goes back to like the cheater business. Not going to be that hard headed. So it didn't get to the point where it was at all, looking to be that confrontational or anything crazy like that. Obviously, they're probably going to have a closed door meeting, and then we're going to see what they end up saying or what ends up happening in that meeting. But this is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. Audio's bad. Now we can hear. You're good? Yes. Are we good? Yes or no? Good now. It's been doing that the past couple of days. It gets weird for like 3 seconds. Not 3 seconds, like 20 seconds, then it gets back to normal. Good. Okay. Basically what I was saying is just, it's not as confrontational as we thought it was going to be. I'm sure they're going to have a private meeting and then discuss more there. But what Trump tends to do is be super aggressive. And then once he starts to become more personable in person, because he's trying to get a deal done, that's where you see the more human side of him instead of being as aggressive as he is on Twitter. Dude, yeah, talk about awkward moment of the year. Talk about an awkward moment of the year. I would like him to lower interest rates. And then J Powell just awkwardly laughs. And then when J Powell was looking at the freaking 3.1 billion, he was like, "How are you getting this number? What are you talking about? Where is this coming from?" Decker is still up 15% on those earnings. That was wild, dude. Absolutely wild. Yeah, maybe I talked too fast for the mic to keep up. Maybe that's what we've got going on. Coursera. I didn't get the numbers on Coursera yet. I'm going to try to get the numbers, but that's up 22%. So that one's really having some fun right here. And that is getting momentum. Let me see if I can get those numbers. But I mean, that was your story, folks. Trump and Jay Powell. White House still has their stream up, but there's nothing live. So I don't know if they're actually going to go live with Powell. I kind of doubt they're going to do that, but we will see if that happens. Coursera. Strong Q2 beat expectations on all key metrics, raised their full year outlook. Revenue guidance 179 versus 183. They reported 187. Adjusted EBITDA 18, free cash flow 28.6 million. Yeah, this is a great quarter for Coursera. They beat on free cash flow, adjusted EBITDA, and revenue. There you go. There you go. Yep, 187 versus 180, 12 cents versus 9 cents on EPS. Why is ASTS down after the market? They diluted and by about 500 million. That's why ASTS is getting hit 10%. Again, it's not the biggest deal, right? You're going to have a lot of companies, if their stocks get this much momentum and they're still not profitable and they don't have tons of revenue like ASTS. Again, they're pre-revenue. They're going to be diluting. But as a long-term shareholder, you probably would think it's in the best interest. I don't know the coupon rate on their 500 million though, on the convertible. If it's like, less than a couple of percentage points, it's actually not that bad of a offering. We got to go deeper in that. 2.8% decline in U.S. sales for Deckers. All right, so something Deckers said, I'm going to try to get deeper into it on their slide deck, has to be good for investors to be this excited in the U.S. if they're losing a little bit of steam. Let's pull up their press release and let's see what they have here. You can tell the stress has been getting to Jay Powell. Yeah, but he's been holding strong. I mean, he wasn't, it didn't seem like he was a guy who's ready to quit or resign, even though Trump has been asking for that every single day. Haka and UGC or UGG outperformed our first quarter expectations with robust growth, delivering solid results to begin fiscal year 2026. Said the CEO, though uncertainty remains elevated in the global trade environment, our confidence in our brands has not changed, and the long-term opportunities ahead are significant. We will lean on the fundamental strengths on our powerful operating model as we continue executing our strategy. Net sales up 17% year over year, 964 million, almost $1 billion. Haka's doing 653 million. UGGs are doing 265. Others are doing 463. And then geographically, domestic, they decreased 2.8%. International, increased 49.7%. So international is up 50%. Domestic's down 3%. Where was Deckers year to date? Was this stock hitting? Oh, wow. Dude, we should have seen this in the morning, bro. Deckers was down 48% year to date. They just needed anything to go right to go back up. I mean, you give one good thing and this would have some momentum. And I guess they gave enough of a good thing on that international sales number. Obviously, the top and the bottom beat on the EPS and revenue, and that got it 15%. Dude, all right. So last time I said Hoka, you guys said it was Haka. Now you're saying it's Hoka, not Haka. Like, at what point, how do you say the word? Last time I was saying Hoka, and you were saying no, it's Haka. And now you guys want to switch up. Roll the clip, bro. Roll the clip from like 8 months ago, or Decker's last earnings. Because I could have sworn I said Hoka, and you guys were like, no, it's Haka. And now I say Haka, and you're like, all right, it is what it is. If that's how you guys want to do it, that's how you can do it. Is Trump live again? Dude, I guess they are going live again. Yeah, they are. All right, here we go. Let me pull this up. Yeah, he is live. Let's pull this up right here.
We had great luck with the building. We did a good job. We built it quickly and relatively inexpensively for about $200 million. And that was a big hotel, big project. But we looked around, and Tim Scott's here someplace. Tim, come on up. Tariffs are saying what a great move that was. We have hundreds of billions of dollars coming in. Japan, just on one deal, is paying us $550 billion. And they opened up their economy. It's incredible, the deal. And they're happy. We're happy. Everybody's happy. But we should have the lowest interest rate of any country, and we don't. We should have. Every point is worth $365 billion. So we want to get the rates down, but we also want to get the Fed building finished So I met with the contractors. We toured it with the chairman, and we had a very good tour. And we'll talk to you about it sometime. But Tim and I, we sort of understand what happened.
Yeah. Too expensive. Bottom line is this, that Americans deserve to become first-time home buyers. President Trump has created the best economy in the world. The one thing that would make it better is lower interest rates. Full employment is even more possible. Wages rise faster as interest rates come down when your employment is at 4.1% because of your leadership. We have revenues coming in at record-breaking, maybe last month even more revenue coming in than bills going out, which is remarkable.
They found $26 billion. They said, where did that come from? Nobody had, I think that's been many, many decades since that happened.
I can't remember that.
They found 26 billion last month. And they said, where did that come from? I said, why don't you try the tariffs? Said it was true. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and our country's doing great. And we have no inflation, and the numbers, the job, everything is good. The one thing we have to do is get housing prices down and the interest rates down so people can buy the house, because they're all making money, but they can't get the interest rate down. We have to.
Amen.
All right. And he's been my friend for a long time. Booming. And the interest rates is a final little notch. And if you look at Europe, they've lowered 11 times in a short period of time. We've lowered 0. And, they are competition, although we're in the process of probably making a very good deal with them, too. They want to make a deal very badly. So we're making a deal. We just completed our deal with Indonesia. We just completed our deal with the Philippines. We're making unbelievable deals, and the money is pouring in. We want to get interest rates down.
But on interest rates, at some point, does the level of interest rates now slow economic growth?
Yeah, it never helps it if it's high. Never helps it. Well, it's already as good as we're doing. Think of how well we'd be doing. We'd be like a rocket ship. As good as we're doing, we'd do better if we had lower interest rates. And we should. We're prime. Don't forget, without us, the whole world collapses. So we should have the lowest interest rate because, you can talk about Switzerland, you can talk about wonderful countries, no debt, but without us, everything collapses. We should have the lowest interest rate. And if you took it down 3 points, not a little bit, but 3 points, if you got us down to 1, we would save more than $1 trillion. Basically, you can talk about Switzerland, you can talk about wonderful countries, no debt, but without us, everything collapses. We should have the lowest interest rate. And if you took it down 3 points, not a little bit, but 3 points, if you got us down to 1, we would save more than $1 trillion, basically with just a paper transfer. You wouldn't be cutting costs of anything. You wouldn't be building anything. Just a move of the hand saying, we're going to lower interest rates. You would save $1 trillion a year. And there's nothing you can do to save that kind of money. Well, we had a little talk about it, and I thought it was a very productive talk. He'll be able to tell you at his next meeting, but I will say that he did say the country is doing really well. And the country is really doing well. Yeah, please, go ahead.
How would you describe your talk with him? Would you say that the energy was...
He was... You might say.
Listen, bottom line is we had an honest, candid conversation about some of the overruns at this building. We had it in my banking committee, and he said we were wrong, and turns out we were right. Thank God President Trump and his team took enough time to dig into some of the details, and the details are clear. We need to get this project done. We would like to keep it where it is or a little lower, but at the end of the day, the point is that instead of talking about interest rates, instead of talking about first-time home buyers, instead of talking about the heat in our economy, that's a good thing. We're talking about an overrun on the Federal Reserve building as opposed to the Federal Reserve objective of lowering and keeping our economy full.
As an example, they built parking spots under a building next door.
Really expensive.
That's very expensive. When you're starting to build parking lots, underground parking lots, that's a very expensive thing. A lot of people I know, they park their car and they walk a block or 2 blocks or something. But it is a very expensive thing. But that is what it is, and that's okay.
Is this project a fireable offense?
What?
Is this project a fireable offense for Jerome Powell?
Look, I would love to see it completed. I don't want to put that in this category. It's a very complex thing that could have been made simple. I built a great hotel and the great hotel that everybody in this group knows very well. It's called the Old Post Office, and it's a much bigger project than this. And I spent $200 million building it. And it was taken down to the steel, for the most part, taken down. You know, you've seen it go up. And I built it quickly, and I built it for $200 million. That was a much bigger job than this. I spent $200 million, and it's got marble bathrooms, the top fixtures, the best of everything, all brand new. So, you know, this is a very expensive job. I don't know. It got out of control. And that happens. That happens. It's a shame.
Are you negotiating on auto tariffs? Your auto tariffs.
No, I'm not negotiating on auto tariffs.
Does EU looking at 15% like Japan?
Well, it depends. What Japan did is they brought down their tariffs. They gave us $550 billion because they didn't want to pay 20. They were 28%. And they gave us $550 billion up front. 100%, 500. We get 90, they get 10. 90%, they get 10. And there's no payment. It's not a loan or anything. It's a.
I still don't know how we negotiated Japan investing $500 billion and we get 90% of the profits. Like, either Japan sucks at negotiating or there's something deeper to that investment.
Signing bonus, I call it. But they gave us $550 billion and took down the tariffs a little bit. And then they agreed to open their economy to everybody. This was not easy. This took, you know, a lot of people walked out of rooms and things. Sometimes they walked out of rooms, went back to Japan. Right. I said, where are they? They went back to Japan. And then they called and they said, can we make a deal? They came back a couple of times. This happened. This was, as you know, it was over a period of months. And ultimately, they agreed to open their economy. Now, the opening of the economy is worth more than $550 billion, the payment that they made. It's worth more. So between that and the payment, we reduced it down to 15%. But they were at about 28%. And then they bought it down, basically.
But could other countries buy it down?
Yeah, our interest rates don't come down. We're knocking it out of the park with high interest rates. If interest rates come down, then that final little element kicks in. That's housing. And the sad part is that people, wonderful young people, young couples starting off, they can't get a mortgage because the rates are too high. Tim knows that better than anybody.
And here it is. Hey, if rates are so necessary to come down for first-time home buyers, why not fire Powell? Why wait another 8 months? And Trump he's saying what the market really wants him to hear, which is that, hey, I'm not going to do that. That's not necessary. But eventually Powell will.
It's so big what's taking place in America, where the king of Saudi Arabia says you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And I thought you were dead 1 year ago. I thought we were dead. I just left NATO, as you know. They're agreeing to pay 5%. We're not paying anything. We send them they pay for 100% of everything now for the war, Ukraine. But I just left NATO, and every one of those leaders said, every country, they said, and very smart countries, very successful countries, frankly. And every one of them said, you have the hottest country in the world. We did that over a period of a year, less than a year. I mean, if you think, they say a year ago we were dead, and today. So I'm here 6 months, and we did it over, and we had the help of men like this and people like standing right behind me. They're great. Matters. They're great professionals. They really are. They're great professionals. And in a short period of time, we made it the hottest country in the world. With all of that being said, we'd like to see, we can always do better, and we can do better if interest rates come down.
You always got to wait.
All right, there you go. Dude, what a freaking afternoon. I don't think any of us expected that to happen. By the way, Schwab just initiated a $20 billion share buyback. Those shares are up 1.29% after hours on a $20 billion buyback. Pretty incredible. Trump said, I'm not going to fire him. I believe he'll do the right thing. And ultimately, the meeting they had was productive. Did not know we would see them together. Twitter is going crazy about Trump and Jay Powell being together in the same room. I mean, everyone literally is just like, is this actually happening right now? But yeah, it is happening. It is a bit wild. Coke after hours, again, flat. Intel went from up 7% to down 0.02. Kinsale up 0.2. Deckers up 11. Newmont up 3. Again, gold mining company Coursera, best earnings so far, up 20.5%. ASTS down 10 on the dilution. And then Boyd Gaming, also they had earnings. They beat on the top and the bottom. They're up 1.7%. This is wild, bro. 2025 has been kind of crazy. And I did not think we would see them together, but we did indeed. Olney, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it. Savage says, Amit, thank you. That is all. Savage, thank you for being here. And thank you for the super chat as well. I think this has just been a crazy year in a lot of different directions. Obviously, the tariff stuff in April. I mean, in April, I think a lot of us thought, okay, 2025 is going to be an accumulation year, and hopefully we can just buy stocks so that in the next 5 years they appreciate. But 2025 ended up being a growth year, as we saw the tariffs get reversed. Hoodie after hours down about 0.3, and then Palantir basically flat after hours as well. And then now you've got this public spat with Jay Powell and Trump, which who knows how it's going to end out. But we've got a FOMC meeting next week. Tesla's up a little bit after hours, and then the Googs is flat after hours, even though they did win a $1.2 billion deal with ServiceNow. So that's what you got with Google. Now, the thing Trump was talking about at the end of the press conference right there about Obama, apparently Tulsi Gabbard is referring Obama to be criminally investigated. I don't even know all the details, but for setting up a secret agency that was spying on Trump in 2016 that then created this, in the words of Trump, Russia collusion hoax. Obviously, I think all Americans can kind of, read between the lines and see that they're trying to create a distraction from what is a bit more obvious, which is that they need to release the Epstein files and they're not doing it. So I don't know if a former president is going to actually be prosecuted. I don't know if that sets the best precedent. I don't know if they're really going to go through with that investigation, but he said that they're going to be recommending it to the DOJ. So who knows? Maybe Obama is going to have to testify. Maybe that actually does happen. But obviously we're seeing a lot more distraction from how this is playing out. Yeah, this is a good point. SCOTUS ruled that presidents can't commit crimes. Presidents can't commit crimes based on that new vote that was enacted. I think, what was it? It was right before Trump got into office, right? It kind of made him immune to all the crimes he had committed in the past. So it wasn't as serious of a deal. But, that's what you got right there. So it does feel like maybe that doesn't necessarily affect Obama the way that it would be, the way that people would think that it would be affected. This is pretty crazy, dude. This is pretty crazy. Okay, so let me show you guys something else that I saw today. It was a video. I haven't seen this video in a long time. I feel like I saw it like 4 or 5 years ago when this came out. But it's a pretty wild video. And so a little bit of a Matrix moment when you see it. For those that haven't seen it, you're seeing it now. This was Epstein back, I think this was, forgetting the year, but it was in the, I think 2014, 15 range, maybe a little bit before that. Or maybe it was after that, around 2017, 2018. But he was asked about Trump, and here's what he said when he was testifying.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
If you're innocent, why are you taking the 5th Amendment?
Have you ever?
I mean, I'm just saying, bro. I don't think it's crazy to be like, hey, wait a second. You can't just say no on that. You can't just say no. I mean, yes, in the presence is not incriminating. I get it. But I mean, I don't know, dude. It's a clip that's been going viral all day because it got dug up from that 2010. It was 2010 testimony. Now that people are pulling it up. I mean, you can think whatever you want from that, but obviously there is some level of feeling given the American public has not gotten these Epstein files. And now you see something like that. I mean, even if that doesn't mean anything, what is the average American supposed to think when they see a clip like that where Epstein cannot, why didn't he take his 5th Amendment right before that question? Why is he taking it now that there's this condition about women under the age of 18 introduced into the scenario? And people will say, oh, well, what if Trump's daughter was with him at a party with Epstein? That's not socializing. Okay, socializing, you can be logical what socializing means, right? If there's women around and you're socializing with them, we all know what that means, right? You're at a party with women. Now, if they're women under 18, that creates a certain condition to the socializing. And Epstein takes the fifth on that. And so when Trump's trying to say it's a hoax and Trump's trying to say Obama should be prosecuted for something from 10 years ago that no one fully understands exactly why he should be prosecuted for, and then you see a clip like that, you're going to get a lot of the American public say, wait a second, what the hell's going on? What the hell is going on? And I don't know if that story dies out that soon. I don't know if that story dies out that soon. Deckers is losing its pump, folks. It was up 20%. Now it's up 5%. I think the earnings call is going on right now. And you might see a little bit of whatever they're saying on earnings potentially hurt some of this pump they had. But we will see. So anyway, even if you don't take an interpretation from that video that is negative or incriminating or whatever, it makes people think. And I think one of the things Trump is trying to do right now is to distract people from thinking exactly about the whole Epstein thing. Because there's a lot of good stuff that him as a president has been able to put out into the world. Obviously, we've seen everything. Like the AI summit was really good yesterday. Freaking Jensen, by the way, Decker is really getting hit now. Jensen came out and said, dude, the biggest advantage to the United States is President Trump in the age of AI. So when you're getting stuff like that, there's so many good things to be excited about in terms of what he's doing and what the administration's doing. This is the one stain. And this stain might rear its ugly little head going into the midterms. Maybe everyone forgets about it. But as of now, that story has not been dying down yet. Kinsale Capital, that's down 0.5%. Deckers is up 4%. We got Basent who's live. Let's see what Basent is saying. And if he gives us some more clarity on some of these trade deals as well.
And then 3, we are seeing now President Trump has convinced the Senate, perhaps our allies, that secondary tariffs are a way to enforce foreign policy. So there's talk now of secondary tariffs on any country that buys Russian oil. So the Senate's willing to go along with that. Let's see if our European allies are also.
Yes, well, I think just though the generic point I was thinking about is you're getting these reforms, tariffs are coming down, you're getting more market access. I mean, really the policy is working despite the cynics and the free trade, pure free traders. But the pure free traders, especially in some, usually friendly conservative newspapers, not so friendly on this, will always scream about retaliation, but we have not had the retaliation. And I think that makes it a new game. And I think that's part of the success that the president is having, you're having, and so forth, and the other negotiators. No retaliation. It's almost remarkable. Last one, I know let's see, this weekend or next week, you're going to deal with the Chinese, I believe Stockholm, Sweden, which is a lovely place. Chinese, tough nut to crack. What's the biggest problem? What's the biggest issue, Mr. Secretary?
Well, Larry, I think we're in a pretty good place with the Chinese, excuse me, on trade. The Chinese did have a brief bit of retaliation right after April 2nd. We got into a tit for tat. We were at 145% tariffs. They were at 125, which is really an embargo. We had a meeting in Geneva. We brought those down. The U.S. is now, we have a 30% tariff on them, 20% tariffs left on from President Trump's first term, but 30% new tariffs. They have a 10% tariff on us. So trade is in a good place. And I think we're going to be able to move on to the bigger issue of China needing to rebalance. It is the most imbalanced, unbalanced economy in the history of the world. They now account for 30% of global manufacturing. That's unsustainable. They have a real estate downturn. Many would call it a crisis. Manufacturing has slumped, and they can't export their economic problems to the rest of the world. They need to solve them. One of the ways to solve them is to create a consumer economy. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the fact that they do buy sanctioned Iranian oil, Russian oil. If they would pause those purchases for 3 or 6 months, I think that the Russian war machine would grind to a halt. Iran negotiations would be much easier. Yes. So we've got a whole range of things to talk about.
That's a really key point. That last one is so darn important. Anyway, I won't keep you. I appreciate your time very much, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Good luck with the.
Looks like they're going to be negotiating with China even further. We know the South Korea deal theoretically should be on the table. Deckers, by the way, again, 125 to 108. So this stock was already down 15% year to date, got a bit of a pump after hours, now losing that. So something on the earnings call might have been said. But a renegotiation or a more meaningful negotiation of the China deal looks like it's going to be happening based on what Besant said. And maybe Japan is the framework for the EU and South Korea. Now, the update on the EU is that they are preparing their own set of tariffs on about 98 billion euros worth of goods. I think the US and the EU both want to get to a place where they can meaningfully get to a deal. So got about 7 days till August 1st. And if we can get that deal done, then hopefully that's another big one for the market to be excited about. Quite frankly, I think one of the reasons we're hitting all-time highs on the S&P is because we got the Japan deal, even though we might be missing some details around it. And we got Indonesia. So if we can get a much better string of deals over the coming weeks, really over the coming days before August 1st, then that would also be important. Google right here after hours, flat 192, not doing anything too crazy. And then Tesla also flat, HIMS flat, Rocket Lab down about 0.5%, ASTS still down off that dilution 10%, Robinhood flat, and Palantir flat as well. That's what we got on earnings. That is what we have on earnings. Here's a couple of charts I want to show everybody. This one I saw today that is a bit concerning, but it is what it is. Credit card interest rates are now above 20% on average. They've gone from 14.5% on average to 21.6% in 3.5 years. Something that Trump and Bernie Sanders were actually working together on or they agreed on, is this idea of capping credit card rates at a certain level. I think the level they wanted was 10%. There's some good reasons to do that. There's also some bad reasons to do that. The obviously good reason is that people that are living paycheck to paycheck and that have to borrow money would not have to pay an absurd APY. The problem is the credit card companies are private companies. They don't have to give you capital, right? So if they can't make any money off the interest that they're charging, you might just not have a chance to even get access to the capital in the first place. And so there's a lot of nuance to how credit cards work. And that piece of legislation always felt like it never really had a chance to get through, just because it would have a massive implications on so many of the financials. But yeah, a lot of people would just lose their cards at that point. That is the credit card interest rate right there, above now 20%. So we had that going on. Again, we talked about Ether in the morning. Now, this chart I saw on Ether was also pretty crazy. We looked at this a little bit in the morning. It's a bit deeper here in terms of how much we've seen on Ethereum. On Tuesday, we had $540 million of inflows. An all-time high was $726 million back on July 16th. This is the 13th consecutive daily inflow, which is the longest streak since the ETH ETFs have existed. And they went into existence about 9 months ago. So over the past 13 days, investors have poured $4 billion into these funds. Ethereum from that time has gone from about 2,800 to about 3,700. And as a result, the net cumulative inflow for Ether ETFs has exceeded 8.3 billion. BMNR, the treasuries, SBET, all of them getting momentum from this. I'm getting more ETH pilled. Again, if you watch that deep dive I did yesterday, I think it kind of sums up the thesis in a much better way. But whatever way you want to get exposure to Ethereum, I feel like over the long term, if this thing really does get to 10, 15,000, whether it's a treasury, whether it's the BlackRock ETF, whether it's the underlying asset itself, they should appreciate, as Ethereum tends to do what it needs to do. Everyone is imagining 4K to 100K. You know, some of the biggest ETH bulls do believe there is a world where if you assume the entire financial ecosystem is on chain and it's on Ethereum's chain, then there is a world where, I mean, maybe it's not 100K, but it's definitely going to be a lot higher than 4K. And that's kind of my investment thesis on it. It's pretty simple. Like I think this is higher if more people start using it. And so I don't think it's that complicated. Now, the question is like, hey, is the valuation crazy on ETH? But the valuation on a cryptocurrency is really defined as like not free cash flow, but like usage and perception. And for Bitcoin, 2 trillion, if you assume because there's only 21 million and Bitcoin's going to be worth millions of dollars per coin, then yeah, it's cheap. For Ethereum at 450 billion, if you assume there's going to be so much more usage of Ethereum globally from Goldman Sachs and Robinhood and Coinbase and all these companies that are now utilizing the blockchain, I would imagine 450 billion is cheap long-term. even if it could have a hiccup in the short term. Someone asked about SoFi earnings. I think SoFi is going to crush it, dude. I don't think there should be any material weakness on SoFi. The question here to me is this the breakout quarter for SoFi? We've seen this in the past where companies, they either put up GAAP profitability or some really big number, or they do a share buyback or something that gets the market to be very excited. And SoFi has not had one of those quarters. SoFi's run from 13 to 20 has all been based on, honestly, I don't even know, just like undervalued company that as the market kind of went into overdrive over the past month, SoFi participated. But there wasn't like that. I mean, maybe SoFi said they're bringing crypto back. Maybe you got a couple headlines here or there, but it wasn't after an earnings. So this is going to be the first earnings that SoFi is heading into over the past 3 years where it's above $20, July 29th, next Tuesday. And if Noto just delivers, I mean, maybe this is the quarter where it really breaks out and re-rates as a company. And I don't know what they're going to have to say to do that. But if they do, it would be very exciting. Now, the one thing they could say that could definitely re-rate them is Galileo growth and AWS of fintech growth. I don't think that's going to happen this quarter. Noto's guided for Q1 2026, so you can't expect that. But if they can deliver any other beat on the bottom line, we know they're going to beat on the top line. If they can have a meaningful beat on net income, then maybe that's what gets SoFi to be more excited. Yeah, Decker's 125 to 105 on the close. Decker's executive plans to phase in product price increases over the course of fiscal year. Oh, there's this. Oh boy, there you go. Now it's up 8%. So apparently on the call, the executives say they plan to phase in product price increases. That's probably a result of tariffs, even though the executive said we did not experience a material impact from tariffs in Q1. We implemented selective initial price hikes effective July 1st, which provided no meaningful benefit in Q1. July 1st is also for Q3. So it wouldn't show up in Q2. Okay, so there's two nuances to this. It fell from 125 to 108, probably when they said we're going to be increasing prices. But the reason it's not down to 103 anymore, and it's back to 112, is because, well, they're increasing prices, which theoretically should be good for earnings. Unless consumer demand slows down, then it's going to be a net wash. But that is a company, the first company that I've seen so far outside of the Walmarts and Home Depots and Lowe's, et cetera, of the world, that have said we are increasing our prices going into next year. And it's likely because of tariffs. I mean, I would think that would be the major reason for it, because of tariffs. Tanner says they always have a triple beat. It will be a huge quarter. Go SoFi. Tanner, I hope so. I hope so. I mean, dude, I just need it to be above 20 by January 2026. But for those that, you know, are super long the stock, I hope this is the quarter where it breaks out. Because once it re-rates, like imagine this thing breaks out to 30 and we just never see 30 again, or see, you know, the low 20s again. That's when you get a lot of people excited. They buy in. You get a brand new group of investors. Institutional investors get a bit more excited about the growth. And then, you know, if you bought for the past 3 years and your average is below 10, you get to just sit and relax as the rest of the market begins to take this higher. Yeah, SoFi does normally sell off after earnings. So this time we're going to see if there is a little bit of a difference. How do you value Circle? We talked about this in the morning. I don't think there's a conventional way to value it. If you believe in stablecoins as an industry, you know, the market cap on this is kind of irrelevant. It's more so a question of how much are stablecoins going to grow. And not to say it's irrelevant as in it doesn't matter at all, but the reason it's even at 50 billion, we think stablecoins are going to be the next ecosystem that finance is built on top of, or financial systems are built on top of. And if that genuinely does happen, and, you know, it's Circle and Tether's market, Circle's probably going to be a lot more valuable. Here's Ed Yardeni, his thoughts on if this bull market can continue even with the S&P trading at around 22 times.
I think the market is coming around to a view I've had for a while, that the economy is resilient and it may not get a recession anytime soon.
Maybe so, but it may get a slowdown.
Well, it may get a slowdown, but not a recession. Bear markets are caused by recessions. Corrections are anticipating recessions and that don't happen. I don't think recession expectations are particularly high right now. I think the market is fairly confident that the consumer is going to continue to spend, and I agree with that. And capital spending has become less interest rate sensitive, and it's clearly driven by the technology sector, which I think continues to drive.
When people say the market is expensive at 22 times, your reaction to that is what?
My reaction is, how long do you think this expansion is going to last? If you think it's going to last through the end of the decade, which I think it will, I'm not promising that there won't never be a recession again. But let's face it, the economy has demonstrated for the past 3.5 years that it's remarkably resilient. It's put up with a pandemic. It's put up with a rebound in inflation, the tightening of monetary policy, Russia invading Ukraine, and here we are.
Well, we flooded the zone with so much money at some point.
It is what it is, though. I mean, we did. And the money's still, and there's still an enormous amount of money out there. And by the way, one of the reasons the consumers continue to spend is baby boomers, people of my generation, have accumulated $80 trillion of net worth. And I'm not retired.
He's right about that. I mean, Vlad's been saying that as well, that there is a $80 trillion wealth transfer that will be happening over the next couple of decades. And a lot of that is going to go from boomers to millennials. And when that does happen, you've just got more money that's going to be invested into the markets.
Have accumulated $80 trillion of net worth. And I'm not retiring. I'm still working for a living, but my friends are retiring and they're spending money. And meanwhile, their stock portfolios are going up, so they're happy.
What concerns you, if anything? Because you don't sound too concerned about anything.
No, I'm always concerned. You have to be concerned about things.
Well, what?
Clearly. Well, I mean, tariffs are still not a done deal. And we'll see what happens with the tariff situation, I guess, on August 1st. And we'll see what the economic implications are. I think there may be some pickup in inflation over the next few months. And I think, there clearly is this issue between the Trump administration and the Fed. I think that could give us some.
Well, I'll say.
Yeah.
Well, how much are you concerned about that? I mean, we're going to get this, as we said, almost unprecedented visit today from the president to the Federal Reserve building. Oh, you think it's extraordinary? Tell me more.
Well, it's extraordinary because it definitely signals that the administration on a daily basis wants to eliminate the Fed's independence. And people like Warsh have indicated that they think the Fed should be cooperating with the Treasury and that there should be an alliance between the two of them. But I think a lot of us would disagree with that. And we saw what happened when there was a rumor or just a discussion for like a nanosecond that Trump was going to fire Powell. The stock market took a dive and bond yields went up. I mean, at the end of last year, we saw the Fed lowering rates, and I said that didn't make any sense, and I predicted bond yields would go up. They went up 100 basis points.
Do you think they should cut this year?
I still think that they're none and done. I mean, that's been my
none and done.
None and done. That's been my position since the beginning of the year, and so far so good. But the year's not over. I think a lot of people are thinking about September, but I think we're going to get somewhat hotter inflation numbers. Look at initial claims. Initial claims might be indicating that the labor market might actually be strengthening.
So your Denny thinks it's hard to justify a cut. And again, it's kind of same logic that a lot of other analysts have, which is that rates are appropriate given the labor market is not weakening. But he still thinks if you believe in the AI build out, then you believe in expansion of a multiple on the S&P 500, because it's just hard to say you can't invest into what looks like minimum 5 years, more likely close to 10 years of a build out cycle across one of the most important technologies of our lifetime, which is AI, which then will have use cases, margin enhancements, productivity gains, all that stuff that the current administration has been touting will be the reason why we can afford to spend $5 trillion on the deficit, because we're going to make all that back with GDP growth. Is that going to happen? We'll see, but it's hard to not invest into that idea if that spend is happening. And Google increasing their CapEx kind of makes you think, all right, it's definitely not slowing down, especially because they increased it last time. So, I mean, every quarter, if Zucks went from 64 to 72. If they increase it to like, who knows, 85 or something, maybe they match Google. We're just going to see a lot more momentum on this AI trade. OPTT is falling after hours. Ocean Power Tech, this is a small cap, down 18%. All right, that one's getting hit, 130 million. A lot of the meme stocks did not get a great day. GoPro was down 4%. Open barely up a little 5%. It's up a little bit after hours. Kohl's was down, or Kohl's was actually up 10%, but it's down a lot from that 23 level that it hit yesterday in the pre-markets. American Eagle had a 25% pump, couldn't hold it. So a lot of these names kind of just faded out and don't really seem to have that much momentum anymore, which is, I think, is okay. I mean, had a little bit of fun, and now these names are not continuing to hold up. ASTS right here, still down 9.2%. Still down 9.2%. Wumble, thanks for the super chat. Upstart will blow SoFi out of the water on earnings growth. You know, I don't follow Upstart that deeply. I do know their stock has done very well. AI lending is kind of the core thesis on this name. If I had to pick one to invest in long term, I'd pick SoFi over Upstart. But, you know, obviously the stock has done well and Upstart's growing. So it's not like it's a horrible company at all. I just think SoFi is a better package or a better deal for what you're getting when you invest. But if both of them have good earnings, then that would be a good thing for the broader market. Tanner says, I will bet you it won't. Yeah, Tanner can confidently say that. I don't know much about Upstart. But if Tanner says Upstart's not going to blow SoFi out of the water, I trust Tanner's perspective here. LiDAR, yeah, what about that name? We looked at that in the morning. It was up 400%. End of the day, up 158%. They partnered with NVIDIA. Very, very small cap, $50 million company. So that one is still green, even though it's down from the highs of the day. Rach, thank you for the 7 Singaporean dollars. It's 5 a.m. in Singapore. I quit my job and I'm trading now. Thank you so much for all. Wow, that's pretty incredible. I mean, I think we're seeing a lot more stories of people that want to take their own destiny into their hands and kind of do it for themselves. And, you know, trading is a legit thing. People think it's a scam. It is a scam for the people that sell you a course on how to learn how to trade, because most of those people are making money off the course. Because trust me, if anyone's making real money off trading, I told you guys about that story. He texted, he messaged me again today. The guy I met in Toronto, you know, dude was making like 25, 30 grand a day. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I literally saw the P&L with day trading. And Tanner was with me. We had dinner with him, so Tanner can attest to it. He's not selling a course on trading. Let me tell you that. He's not selling a damn course on trading because he's making too much freaking money actually trading. So it is a legit thing. It is possible to do it. It just takes an incredible level of focus and a lot of failure to get there, because it's not an easy thing to trade. But once you develop your system, I mean, it is very possible. Now, for me, I like option selling more because you don't literally have to be sitting in front of a chart and trading, but you can rather do it weekly or monthly. And I think it's more reasonable to expect, you know, 1 or 2% every month versus a massive move every single day with trading. But everyone has their systems, and, you know, the markets are a tool for financial freedom in a variety of ways. So it's really cool to see other people embracing it. This is Jason scamming us. Well, see, Jason's different. Jason's more of a community-oriented guy, right? And so Jason, first of all, I mean, if you've been in Jason's Discord, you've seen his screenshots. He's very legit, and he knows. I will say Jason is one of the only people that actually trades and can teach people how to trade. And also remember, Jason doesn't really do a course. Jason does a community, which is different than a course. A course is like, hey, you know, pay me $500 one time. I spent 6 hours to make this, and now I can sell it over and over again, and I have 100% gross margins because I'll never need to put in any work into this. Jason's running a community, and running a community does take work. Like if you're paying $50 a month or whatever for his Discord, like you get access to him and his personal insights, and you can message him at any moment, right? And there's a lot of people in that community, and you get access to his trades. And that's really what you're paying for. When you join a Discord, you're paying not for like the random chats on these different channels. You're paying for alpha, and alpha comes from the trade. And in a trading Discord, you're paying for someone to give you a new trade at least every other day, if not every day. And Jason is doing trades every day. And that's why I think it's very valuable with Jason. But yeah, with someone saying, hey, you're going to get rich by like buying my course on trading, like it's very day trading in particular. It's hard to justify it. Hims right here. That's flat after hours. Rocket Lab down about 0.3. Big Bear is up about 0.5%. And then the Qs also up a little bit right now. The guy I met was not Joe from Trader TV. The guy I met in Toronto, he is super low-key. He's not public on social media. No one really, I mean, he doesn't have any public, he watches the stream, but he doesn't like, you know, make content. So yeah, he just developed his own system, and every day for a couple minutes, he makes his trades and then he goes on with his day, which is very cool if you can do that. If you were forced to trade full-time, would you do Jason style or TJ style? So they're both different. TJ sells options. Jason swing trades options. So Jason will buy an Apple 215 call 4 weeks out because on a technical perspective, he knows when to get out of the trade, when to get in on, when to exit the trade, or when to exit, when to enter. TJ has a totally different strategy. TJ, what he's doing right now, from what I've seen, is strangles. And those strangles are essentially saying, hey, I'm going to sell, let's take Palantir. I'm going to sell puts on Palantir at 110, and I'm going to sell calls on Palantir at 170. And that $60 range between 110 and 170 is what he needs his strangle to stay within, aka he needs the stock to stay in that range during a certain period of time to be able to collect premium from the sell side on the put and sell side on the call. Now, granted, TJ is doing it in a bit more of an advanced way where he's not covered. So he doesn't have the shares to cover the position, and he doesn't have the cash. Well, he has the cash, but he's not putting up the cash as collateral to cover the put. It's a little bit more risky, obviously. You have to be very good at understanding how to risk manage the deltas in between the calls and the puts, because obviously if Palantir goes to the moon, you have to buy those shares at those levels, and that's going to be very expensive. If Palantir tanks, you're going to have to buy a ton of shares at 110. If Palantir goes to like 80, you're down a lot of money. So there's a lot of different strategies to be able to manage it in different ways. But if I was forced to do it, I would do it the way I'm doing it, which is not buying options on a swing, but selling options. It just wouldn't be TJ's version because I don't do it naked. I have them covered. But see, the buying option stuff is really cool because you can, like, if a stock moves like 10, 15%, your option can move up 100, 200%, right? Especially if it's in a short amount of time. But you've got to be able to understand TA, because the only way to even have a chance of predicting that a move like that could happen is if you're deep into the charts. And, that's what Jason's been doing basically for the past 20 years. I joined Jason because he doesn't try to sell his community. Yeah, I mean, look, there's not a lot of good people that can actually build a community that's paid and deliver value. Chris is one of the people that do it. I mean, some people in Chris's Patreon have made just, I know we laugh at him for the cruise lines, but dude, the people in Chris's Patreon that bought those spreads on the cruise lines when Carnival was like $12, they're making a lot of money. So I think Chris is someone who actually offers really good value for like $10 a month, which is nothing. And Jason for like 30, $50 a month, gives you trades every day. Those are the people that I would trust in a paid community. We got a lot of people that just do, bullshit. And those are the people you kind of want to, not fuel if they can't actually deliver on the value. Okay, what else do we got? What else? Do we have any other headlines after hours? Oh, X partnered with Kalshi or XAI. So we got that. Elon Musk just said Starlink service will be restored shortly. Apparently there was a little bit of an outage on Starlink. So he tweeted that. Trump also, we just got a quote from him. I signed executive orders on artificial intelligence. Executive orders promote the export of American AI technology stack. Again, yesterday's summit was really freaking good. I mean, there's just so much good news from a lot of the AI momentum we saw yesterday. But that was in that conference. Microsoft, that one was a bit flat today as well. Nothing too crazy. Still very close to all-time high. BMNR's market cap is only 2.1 billion. ETH is worth 450 billion. What a major buy. I wouldn't say that's the way to value it. On a treasury's market cap, you have to look at how much ETH they get hold and what ETH is. What's the value of their ETH compared to their market cap, right? So just because Ethereum's worth 450 billion doesn't mean that BMNR should be worth anywhere near that, especially if they don't have 450 billion worth of ETH. But I do think that if that MNAV starts collapsing as Ethereum starts rising, then yeah, that's where it becomes more of a buy. I mean, look, if you're buying the treasuries, you are buying into the thesis that Ethereum will go up and you just want to be levered against it. That's it. But outside of that, they're not that exciting to me because I don't know exactly what they're going to do with the Ethereum that really differentiates them. SBET, by the way, down 9% of the day, up 1% after hours. And again, I will keep saying this, these guys will dilute. You cannot forget that they're going to dilute. And when they dilute, the stock will go down. And you can't be afraid when that happens because that's how they're going to make money to buy more ETH. It worked out for MicroStrategy because Bitcoin went from 15 to 120. For Ethereum, if it goes from 4 to 18 or something, it'll work out for the treasuries. It's just a question of when that happens. For those who are asking who's Jason, he does Technical Tuesdays on my show. You can go to the market close from a couple days ago. I will put his link in the chat if anyone wants to check him out. A very good friend of mine. And yeah, he is deep into TA. When do you plan on getting into ETH? Honestly, I don't know. Eventually, I think I'm just going to set up a DCA every month, buy a little bit of the BlackRock fund. So it's not like anything too crazy, but I don't know. Every month, maybe throw a couple $100 into it, and that's kind of the strategy. Bitmine right here up a little bit after hours. Tesla is flat, even after that 10% move to the downside today. Do you offer consulting? I'm open to scheduling dinner. You have an email of someone I can reach out to schedule. I do not do consulting or anything like that. But if you have a question, I mean, just message me on X or something like that. And the real consulting, I think, happens again from this entire community. There's no personal advice I would be able to give you to necessarily change anything. Also, I'm not licensed to give any type of personal financial advice or anything. But I think a lot of the quote unquote consulting that comes from like due diligence, it's on X. I mean, if people are not on X, even if you don't care about the platform for finance, that is the platform to be on, because the level of conversation you can have, like underneath one of my posts or underneath Tanner's post or underneath the post from Roy. I mean, because we all tend to post some good quality content on different companies, and then the comments underneath those posts create even better quality discussions. So I would say you don't even have to pay for consulting when it comes to this stuff. A lot of the information's out there. Like, I've never paid anyone for consulting to help me learn about the markets. I've been blessed with some good friends, but a lot of the information is online. A lot of it's in ChatGPT. Take whatever scenario you have, ask ChatGPT, be like, hey, what would you do in this situation? Pretend you're my financial advisor and like come up with all these different scenarios, and you're going to get a ton of responses on very advanced option strategies or very basic budgeting to manage your income. I mean, like, there is just so much commoditization of that space via AI, and it's probably going to be way better than what a financial advisor could do. I mean, this is every time I'm in the car with my mom with FSD and she gets like afraid that the car is going to miss a turn or miss an exit, I'm like, Mom, like, it's not. It's way smarter than me. I'm probably going to miss the exit, but that car is not going to miss the exit. Yeah, or use Gemini or use Grok. I mean, I don't think people need to be paying for a lot of this stuff. All of it is out there and it's free. It's just a question of like using the tools, and actually engaging with it. Yeah, we saw this. Basen said he met with Singapore's trade minister on Thursday. Let me bring up that post. I think he mentioned that on the Fox interview. Yeah, there you go. Oh, wow. So he met with him today. Okay, cool. Perfect. Dude, maybe we're going to get some more momentum between the United States and Singapore. I was pleased to hear about the Deputy Prime Minister's views on the economic relationship between the United States and Singapore, and I look forward to our continued cooperation on our shared priorities. There you go. U.S. and Singapore. Yes, Jeff Walton is tonight, 9:30. Or actually, I think it's 9 p.m. You'll see when the stream goes up, but likely, I think it's 9 p.m. We'll be live. It is going to be, 9 p.m. 9 p.m. It's 9 p.m. We're live, and we'll talk about MicroStrategy. He is Jeff Walton is the guy who is like super big into. He's like how I am for Palantir. He's like that for MicroStrategy. So it should be a good discussion if you care about why people even, buy MSTR stock, or why Saylor keeps buying Bitcoin to pump up MSTR stock. The community here is very valuable to see different perspectives and investment ideas. Yes. I think you want diversity of thought too. You never want to be one-sided when it comes to investing and have like one person tell you how to do stuff. Like, you want to get a lot of different perspectives, right? Like, if I only listened to Chris, I would still not be in Palantir. If I only listened to Steve, I still wouldn't be in Palantir or Tesla or any of these names, right? But when I listen to Chris on TFC, I mean, that's really good, right? Not everything I say is always going to be accurate. And so you should get a lot of different appetite from different perspectives and different people. I think that with politics as well, dude. I try to consume a lot of left-wing and right-wing stuff to try to see where is that healthy balance. And same thing in investing. At the end of the day, people are going to be bullish, people are going to be bearish. Warren Buffett's not right on everything. Bill Ackman's not right on everything. But there's a lot of valuable insights you can get from a bunch of different people. The one thing that I think is the most exciting about investing is when you feel confident on your own. Like when you start to feel confident on your own due diligence, you start to become a bit more seasoned as an investor because you can buy shares without saying I'm buying this because of someone else. I'm buying it because I believe in it. And then if the stock goes up, you feel the benefit of saying, hey, it was my due diligence and my hard work that came to this conclusion. If it goes down, then you are the one to blame, which is okay because it forces you to become a better investor. And that ultimately plays out over the long term. If I only listened to the people I followed before you, I wouldn't be in Hood. Yeah, dude. Like, it's so funny. Every time I post about Hood on Twitter, there's still people that are like so bearish on Hood. And sometimes you just look at them and you're like, dude, you're wrong. It's okay to be wrong. You were wrong on this. Like, you were wrong. Like, you missed it. You got it wrong. It's okay. Everyone's wrong on something, but they swear that Hood is still a scam. It's not going to work. And I'm like, all right. That's what makes a market, right? That is what makes a market. Someone's bullish, someone's not. Yeah, it's not possible to borrow conviction. Exactly. You can try to borrow people's conviction, but when shit hits the fan and the stock goes down, you can't blame the other person you borrowed conviction on. Like, you have to ask yourself, do you believe in this thesis? And quite frankly, if everyone doesn't believe and you do believe, congratulations, you became a contrarian. The question is, will you be right? And the best investments that I've had in my life have been contrarian, aka people didn't believe in it, Robinhood Palantir, and then you ended up being right. Speaking of contrarians, here is Theo Vaughn and Sam Altman yesterday talking on his podcast about Peter Thiel, who one could argue is the ultimate contrarian. Peter Thiel was asked the question by the New York Times about, do you want humanity to survive? Do you want the human race to survive? He had a bit of an interesting answer. Here's Sam Altman explaining why Peter Thiel is the way he is.
What do you think a guy like Palantir, Peter Thiel's end game is? Do you think he has an end game? Because I think he seems like a dark lord to a lot of us. And it's like, you think he has an end game that is like happy?
I think Peter is one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. I think
he's smarter than me. That's for sure.
I think he does get caricaturized in the media as this like evil mastermind.
As a villain, he does. I never met him.
I met him. We're very close friends. I
shouldn't have brought it up then.
No, it's all good. No. It's all good. I don't feel that energy from him, but in fact, I think he's been one of the most important forces, at least in my life, for questioning assumptions about the path that society was on. And maybe I was like, oh, I thought this was all going well, but maybe we are in a tech stagnation. And maybe we really do have this huge economic challenge that no one's talking about. And so I think these people who are just that think very differently, he would call it very contrarian, is super important to a society. Now, on the other hand, maybe he sometimes does things like this that don't do him any favors.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would
this is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
Should the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But
thank you.
But
God, I mean, it was 22 seconds it took him.
Yeah. So if he were maybe like a more typical person, he would have just said an immediate yes,
right,
and then said what else he wanted to say. And it took me a while with him to understand that his brain just works differently.
Peter Thiel is, I think, one of the smartest investors of all time. However, Sam Altman is right. Sam Altman knows him very well. They've been good friends for a while. His brain works different. He's not going to give you a conventional answer to that question, even though most people think it's obvious that he should answer that question in a conventional way. But that's also part of the reason why he's different. It's also part of the way why his brain works in a very differentiated way. I mean, by the way, Elon is the same. Elon takes time to answer questions. He stutters. He tries to collect his thoughts because he's like deeply thinking of how to respond to something. And it's not as obvious for him to, just put out the conventional talking point. So it's just a different argument. It's a different argument in terms of how we how he communicates. By the way, that guy I was talking about from Toronto, I guess he heard me talking about him on stream. He just sent me a screenshot. Folks, I am looking at a screenshot right now, day trading, 132,000 on Intel. 132,000 profit on Intel, trading it after hours. Telling you it's possible. I'm literally looking at this right now. I don't want to show the screenshot, obviously. It was like, hey, I need to send you a bottle of champagne. Goodness gracious, bro. He was probably listening to the stream, trading Intel earnings. Some people, dude, he's using a lot of capital for this, obviously. He's probably using, has to be like 4 or 5 million or something to be able to make this type of trade. But it's possible, dude. The financial markets are possible. It is possible. I would imagine he's using margin as well, because the cool thing about margin, okay, and I don't advise using margin, but the cool thing about it is if you have enough assets where the Tanner says, tell him I will pick up the bottle for you. If you have enough assets where the brokerage will give you, let's say, I don't know, $3 million, right? So let's say your portfolio is 8 million, the brokerage gives you 3 million. If you use that 3 million within the day, you don't pay interest on it. Meaning, let's say I trade Intel, I buy it at 20 and I sell it at 21 within 10 minutes. The risk to margin is that you are borrowing capital, and then you have to pay interest on what you're borrowing, and you have to make sure whatever you're investing in, you're able to make a difference between the amount you're making on the investment versus the amount of interest you have to pay in order to like make any profit. But if you're using 3 million to buy whatever amount of shares of Intel at 20, and then you're selling it $1 up, and you made whatever the spread is on the profit based on the number of shares you have, and then you give the 3 million back to the brokerage because you're done with it, you don't pay any interest because you just used it. The money actually has to like be in your brokerage in an actual investment for 24 hours for it to calculate as borrowing capital. Now, obviously, margin is very risky, so you got to be careful borrowing money because like let's say you buy Intel and then Intel goes down, and now you're down whatever, a couple $100,000. Like now you have to hold it, right? Or you have to take a loss, but now you're down a couple $100,000. You have to pay that a couple $100,000 back when it comes to margin. So very risky stuff. You can only really use margin if you understand what the hell you're doing. There's a lot of horror stories of people borrowing money. Like whenever you borrow money in general, not just on margin, but like from a bank, from a loan shark, like when you borrow money from a credit card, you have to know the implications of what it means. For margin, the rates are just better because it's collateralized via assets, whereas a personal loan is collateralized usually with nothing, so the rates are much higher. And usually the more you can get margin called, so it doesn't get to a point where it gets that bad because your brokerage will automatically sell, but you can still lose a lot of money if you invest in the wrong thing or the thing that just doesn't go your direction with someone else's money. But if it works, it works. And so it's based on your personal risk tolerance, but there are a lot of ways in the financial markets to create your own system. For some people, it's option selling. For some people, it's swing trading. For some people, it's day trading. But everyone has to kind of figure it out their own way. Yes, cash curve puts don't get hit with interest either. Dude, when I found that out a year ago, TJ is the one who told that to me. I was like, you don't have to pay any interest to collateralize your puts? He was like, nope. I was like, why? He's like, I'm not using the money. And it makes sense. Like, when you're collateralizing a put, you're not actually using the money. It's collateralized. If you get in the money and you have to buy the shares because you're assigned, then you're using the money. But until then, the money is just like in a corner. It's not actually being utilized. And, if you enable margin to collateralize your puts, you don't actually have to pay interest on it. Now, again, if you get assigned, you do have to pay interest, which is why it can be risky. Yes, you can absolutely blow up your account if not used correctly. So the thing about bigger accounts, though, from the people I've talked to, is once you get a bigger account, you get a lot of money that you can get borrowed. I mean, like if you have like a couple $1 million portfolio, you're going to get hundreds of thousands, if not up to $1 million, based on the margin maintenance that your brokerage has in buying power, right? So if you have a $10 million portfolio, let's just say theoretically it's 50%, you get $5 million in margin. I mean, like that's $5 million. You could do some damage with $5 million if you know what you're doing with it. If you're selling certain options, or if you're making certain day trades, or you're making certain swing trades, you could also blow up that $5 million, which is very important to understand. Yes, you cannot write margin off at the end of the year. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. I double dip. I sell puts on margin and let the cash sit in my high yield savings account and then double dip on the yield. Yeah, again, and this is why I'm a fan of option selling, because let's say you are selling puts on margin, but you're selling puts on Robinhood at like, I don't know, Robinhood is 100. Let's say you're selling put a month out for like $75 or $80. So be super conservative, right? If it doesn't get there, you basically got to use someone else's money to collateralize and yield some premium. And if it does get there, theoretically, you should be okay with then buying those shares, even if it's on margin, because then hopefully you can sell some calls and then be able to generate some premium on the other side of the wheel. But there's always a risk to engaging with it. All you need is an ISDA. Dude, that freaking Chamath tweet. By the way, it was kind of awkward seeing Chamath with Jensen Huang on the all-in stage, because remember Chamath on the podcast back in April? He kind of said NVIDIA's demand is like slowing down, or it wasn't, he said something about their demand is slowing down, or that their like process on making chips is becoming commoditized. And literally NVIDIA had to reach out to him because he's a voice on one of the world's biggest podcasts. And they said, dude, stop saying bullshit. Like, you're just wrong. They probably said it in a nicer way, but they were like, you're just wrong. And then the next week he came on the podcast and he was like, yeah, so the NVIDIA people reached out to me and I want to clarify what I'm saying, yada, yada. So I don't know. It must have been a little weird of him being on stage with Jensen and knowing that he, tried to poo-poo on NVIDIA. I mean, like, he's just been wrong all year, dude. He's been wrong all year. He said we would have a ridiculous market crash and this way you want to be long credit default swaps. And like, we had it for a couple of days. That was the time to sell. That's when you should be bragging. But if you're bragging now after we've completely mean reverted to the upside, S&P's up almost 10% on the year, like, the entire thesis was wrong. Even though it was right for a day. Do we have a Trump tweet? Yes. Okay. Trump says, it was a great honor to tour the renovation and some new construction of the Federal Reserve building with Chairman Jerome Powell and Senator Tim Scott. It's got a long way to go. Would have been much better if it were never started, but it is what it is, and hopefully it will be finished ASAP. The cost overruns are substantial, but on the positive side, our country is doing very well and can afford just about anything. Even what? Didn't he spend the past 3 days saying we can't afford this? He's saying our country is doing very well and can afford just about anything, even the cost of this building. I'll be watching and hopefully adding some expertise. As everyone knows, I renovated the old post office in Pennsylvania Avenue, and it was a roaring success. The total construction cost was a small fraction of the Fed building's cost, and it is many times the size. With all that being said, let's just get it finished, and even more importantly, let's lower interest rates. Okay, so... Dude, Trump, it's such a businessman negotiating type of thing. Like, you talk all this shit on Twitter and then you go in person and then you realize, like, well, they might as well just finish the building and like, it is what it is. So if the goal was to get them to not spend billions of dollars on this building, that didn't work out. I don't know why he can say we can afford it, because he's been saying for the past 3 days we can't afford this and that it's a scam, and that literally they were referring him for criminal prosecution to the DOJ based on this $2.5 billion renovation. I guess that was full of shit. That's not happening. Not after this meeting. So that was all a lie. And now he's saying we might as well just get it over with and end up lowering rates. Yeah, literally tacoed. How is this not another taco? How is this not a literal another taco? I mean, am I wrong, or did we see Pulte and that Congresswoman Anna Luna say, hey, we're going to be referring Powell to the DOJ for criminal prosecution based on freaking spending $2 billion on renovation? Rango says, I love Trump, dude. So much entertainment. Yeah, one of you guys said that in chat. Dude, we need to appreciate the next 3 years, because when he's gone, this entertainment is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And quite frankly, it's hilarious, dude. Like, I don't have an opinion that's good or bad about Trump, ever. You guys have seen me react and be like, what the hell is he saying? And you guys have also seen me say, man, this AI summit is amazing. Trump is like really pushing us forward when it comes to AI innovation. So like, I will critique him when I think something is stupid, which is like every other day. And I will also say, hey, this is really good. And every other day he has some new policies that come out that I agree with, executive orders, all that stuff. I think it's been rather balanced. But the one thing that is definitely happening every day is freaking content, bro. It is entertainment at a different level. And I don't know if J.D. Vance is going to give this to us or Gavin Newsom is going to give this to us in 2028. It truly is incredible. I mean, are they going to be tweeting like this every other hour with some random statement? Like it almost reminds you what happened, when Biden was president. Like there was just like there was nothing, bro. Like you didn't get any insights into what was going on in the administration. He barely did interviews. Whenever he did talk, he barely talked about anything. So this is a whole 180 from what we experienced for the past 4 years. And we've got this for another 3 years. I mean, he's literally live 2 times a day, every single day. UNH, by the way, up a little bit after hours. Up a little bit after hours. So there you go. There you go. Again, I think like when I think of politics in the context of markets, I think I'm genuinely someone who just cares about markets. I know a lot of you have your I hate Trump so much, everything he does I hate. And a lot of you have the opinion of like Trump's the best, he can never do anything wrong. I genuinely think I'm in the middle. I don't care. Like I really don't. And I don't care what anyone thinks about me not caring. I don't care. I don't have it. I don't feel this like moral obligation to defend Trump. And I don't feel this moral obligation to say he's a horrible person. I don't care. I don't like the meme coin stuff. I thought it was horrible. Does that mean I'm going to say that everything he's doing about AI investments are horrible? No. I hate everything that's going on with Epstein. Do I think that's horrible? Absolutely. Does that mean I'm not going to be looking at the pro-business legislation that he's putting out? No. Like this is just, you cannot, it's so multifaceted given he is the president of the United States to have a moral stance that is so black or white. It's hard because there's so many things happening back and forth. You're actually lying right now. I mean, again, people can think whatever they want, but I care about the markets. That's what I care about. Obviously, I care about the health of the country, but a lot of the health of the country is determined by the health of the economy. And that's how I go deeper into it. But I don't know, dude. Like the idea of like having some vendetta against the guy, good or bad, for any politician, bro, I don't care. Like I just don't. I don't care about Bernie. I don't care about AOC. These people do not occupy space in my mind as like when I see them and I feel this like some of you guys, when you see Elizabeth Warren, you're like, oh my God, I hate her. I'm like, dude, I don't love the stuff she says, but I don't have any malice towards her. I don't care. Like she's going to do what she's going to do. And the people on the Republican side are going to do what they're going to do. And that's it. And that's it. So there's a variety of different ways to think about it. You need to listen to, dude, I still need to listen to Guns N' Roses. I've not listened to that yet, or Metallica. Haven't listened to that either yet. So I need to do that. I do not hate Mamdani at all. I think some of his policies are weird, but I think I've been pretty objective on him. He is the only politician that knows how to communicate in New York. You think Cuomo knows how to get people to be excited about a campaign? No. Eric Adams? No. Mamdani knows how to communicate. +1 to him. Do I think some of the ideas he's touting are smart? No, I don't. That doesn't mean I hate him. That means I just don't like the idea. So I don't know. I think it's very important to remember these politicians at the end of the day don't have that big of an impact on your life. Obsessing about them and caring about them is the biggest lie that the media has told us. And because the media has such big of an influence and they report so deeply on every little nitty-gritty thing that the politicians do, we analyze it in the context of markets. And this whole Epstein stuff, although it's not necessarily market related, it is a stain on Trump's administration right now. And a lot of it, he's trying to use other things to distract from what's going on. So like, you kind of have to analyze it as it comes up, because if you don't, it's like, it's hard to ignore it. But at the end of the day, it's all about how does it go in the context of markets? And then how does that go in the context of the election? If the midterms, if this Epstein thing is a big issue and Republicans lose the midterms, and then you have a split Congress, I mean, that has an impact on the broader market. And that's where the implication comes in. But for the Ben Shapiro's of the world, or the Tucker Carlsons, or the CNNs, the Fox News, that like every day, all they care about is every single political topic that comes out from their side of the aisle, I would be miserable if I cared that deeply about all those different topics. I just don't care that much. I think it's really hard to care that much about it. Because again, you can say that these things have an impact on our lives. I'm not saying they don't have an impact. The broader question is, how much of an extent of an impact do they have that is affecting your ability to do what you want to do in life? Chase your dreams, start your business, start a family, yada, yada. And there are implications, but at the end of the day, if it's blaming the politician left or right on anything, it's like, okay, well, at the end of the day, you have to do your own thing. Okay, Steve. Dude, Steve said he was going to call in. I think Steve's busy. He's supposed to call in. It is a very Steve approach I have to this. Very Steve approach I have to this. You got to get your own shit done. Not worry about every single politician. You're speaking from a place of privilege? I don't think so, dude. I know people try to use the whole privilege argument to try to say that, oh, you're privileged because you don't have to care about politics. I think there's a lot of nuances to it. There's to just blindly assert, oh, you're privileged because you don't have to care about politics. It's like, okay, that's what you want to say. But I think there's nuances to how to conceptualize the relationship that politics has in your own life. And if it all comes down to, okay, well, I'm in this position, therefore I have to deeply care about politics, and everyone who doesn't care about politics is somehow more privileged than me for whatever reason that I come up with for their privilege. I just don't think that's a mentality that can meaningfully allow you to move on in life. And if that is the mentality, it's like, okay, you can like, the funny thing about life is a lot of people don't care. People just don't care. You can complain all you want. They don't care. It doesn't mean we don't look at structural things that are happening in our society. But that also means that at the end of the day, one of the things the country is built on is the sovereignty of the individual, the idea that you can move forward beyond all the things that are going on. And the harsh reality is, like, as much as you want to complain about stuff, if you don't move on from it, then you don't move on. Then you're stuck. It's not even a victim mentality. I wouldn't go as far to say that people who think that people are privileged are in a victim mentality. I think some people that are super extreme feel that. But I think at some level, you have to look beyond the political apparatus. You have to. And if you don't, it's like, okay, what am I going to do from here? Like, am I supposed to, and this is not just for me, it's for everyone else. Am I supposed to go crazy about every single thing that's happening in the administration? Like, am I supposed to care about all the different policies around this and this and this and this? It's like, no, I can't. Like, I can't obsess. I have my own life. I have to do my own shit. I have to build my own legacy, build my own career. I'm supposed to be worrying about everything that's going on at the border. It's like, I can't do that. Now, people will say, oh, well, you're privileged because you're born in the United States and you're not, your parents, didn't come over via legal immigration. Because, like, yes, 100%. You can assert that as a privilege. My parents came from India and I was born in this country and I was yada, yada. Like, I get it. But does that mean I have to care and obsess about everything that's going on the border 24/7? It's like, no, who does that? And that's not to say you don't have sympathy or empathy, but that's also to say, well, if you are obsessed with that, then you might as well go become a politician and try to change it. Guess what? I don't want to become a politician. And I don't want to go try to change that stuff. I want to make money. I want to start a business. I want to do what I want to do. And the other people that want to do that, be my guest. Go do that. The harsh reality is when you realize that when you go that route and become a politician, you don't have any power. The people that have the power are the people with money. That's just the freaking truth. The one thing I will say, even though I'm not a fan of Chamath, the one rant that he went on is something that I heard when I was in freaking college, and it was about get the money. It was about get the money. This is a rant that, again, some of you guys might have seen it, but it is the absolute truth about existence, in my opinion. No one cares. The answer is get the freaking money.
Fucking money. I'm serious. Do not get the fucking money. I'm serious. Do not get it. It is going to be made. It is going to be allocated. And you have a moral imperative to make sure that if you have a point of view that matters and you want to reflect it, you get it. I'm going to go get it. Other people are going to go get it. And then it will be about a competition of views. And don't wrap yourself in all this liberal kind of bullshit about oh my God, money, blah. No, stop. Here's how the fucking world works, okay? It drives the world for better or for worse. Economic incentives drive entire swaths of populations to behave in very, very predictable, and then when you take it away, unpredictable ways. I want the fucking money. I will play the goddamn game and I'll win. Because I want the money. Because I want to extend my influence. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They want to return. It's fine.
Yeah. He wants the money.
Because I want to win. I so deeply want to win.
I saw this when I was a sophomore in college. And this is kind of when I was transitioning from being a communist to a capitalist, because I used to be a communist. And it's just true, dude. It's just true. If you have something you want to get out into the world, and quite frankly, it is the least selfish thing to get the money. Because if with money comes influence, and influence has power. And if you want to deal with criminal justice reform, if you want to deal with illegal immigration, if you want to deal with climate change, if you have a certain view on the world, you as a sovereign individual, an individual human being, that this country at least believes that your individual right to exist, your right to freedom, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, all that stuff does matter. We put it on a pedestal, meaning the way you think about the world has value because you are an individual human that gets to think about the world in whatever the hell way you want to think about the world, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, etc. If you have a viewpoint on the world, you are allowed to have that viewpoint in America. You are not allowed to impose that viewpoint in America unless you have the influence to impose that viewpoint. AKA, if you believe in climate change, that's great. You're not going to like go to jail for believing in climate change. That's the beautiful thing about this country, right? You're allowed to believe in it. But if you want other people to believe in climate change, guess what? You have to start a movement. Guess what? To start a movement costs money, marketing, attention, influence. Now, here's the thing most people don't want to hear, especially people in my generation, millennial and Gen Z, because it's the harsh reality of it. You have to work for that. You have to work. You have to stream every day 10 hours. You have to give up a social life. You have to constantly travel. You have to work a shitty job for 3-4 years, not making any money just to be able to get some income on the side to be able to invest in this random company called Palantir every single day to see if it one day can change your life. Like you have to actually put in the work. And the beautiful thing about, I think, life is that when you're putting in the work and you're in that process, you develop new perspectives and ideas, and it forces you to then ask yourself, do I want to influence the world in the way that I think I can influence it? And if I do, what steps do I need to take to get that influence out into the world? So when I hear people obsessed about politics and obsessed about all these policies that don't even have an impact on them, and let's say it does have an impact on you, what are you going to do about it? You don't like this policy the Republicans just passed? Okay, what are you going to do? You can't do anything? Okay, well then maybe your perspective on how you should react to that, because you can't control what happens. I know it's a very cliche quote, but you can control how you react to what happens, is what actually matters. And so I just like all of this goes back to the initial point I was making. This turned into a rant, but like the initial, you guys always get me to rant on a Thursday. For some reason on a Thursday afternoon, it ends up being a rant. The initial point was, if you're obsessed with politics and obsessed with Fox News and CNN and what these talking heads have to say about, not the markets, because that's what we care about, because that's about financial mobility. That's where politics matters to me. But about Trump's random policy on XYZ issue, it's just brain rot, in my opinion. That's all it is. It's brain rot. Yeah, I'm obsessed with Grab, not politics. Exactly. I'm obsessed with Grab, not politics. Because Grab could change my life. Whatever Trump says tomorrow about some random political thing, it's funny to react to, but it's not going to change my life. We need a rant intro. Dude, yeah, once I think I'm gearing up for a rant, I just need to say, roll the intro, and then boom, we do a rant. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. But see, when I say something like this, it sounds cold, right? Like this is what I felt when I was a communist. I was like, oh, this sounds cold. This person doesn't believe in me, or this person doesn't think that, I'm in a certain position in life that deserves a certain level of mind share. I'm disenfranchised, yada, yada, yada. You can believe in that all you want. The problem is no one gives a you-know-what. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. As soon as you grow up and you realize no one cares about your problems, your life, first of all, it's easier to become a content creator because you realize you can't really care that much about what people think. You have to, like, if you want to create content, you're going to have to create content. People are going to say stuff, whatever. Let people say whatever they want. At the end of the day, people are not going to care, and you can't care what people think about. And that's just not about content creation. That's about just putting yourself out there, building a brand, company, etc., just doing something in the world. Number two, you realize if no one cares, then what's the risk of me trying to do something? There is no risk because no one actually cares. And then you also realize that if I complain about whatever situation I'm in life, but no one cares about whatever situation I'm complaining about, other than maybe my parents, if they're willing to listen to whatever complaints I have, then what are you going to do about it? Like, okay, something in your life sucks. Who are you going to complain to? You're going to tweet on, you're going to, put it randomly out into Twitter. It's like, okay, well, who cares about that? You're going to tell your mom or dad, okay, who cares about that? No one does. No one actually does. which means your reaction to what's going on in your life and what you can do to change what's going on in your life is the single thing that matters. Not Trump, not Kamala Harris, not Jay Powell, not anything else. And that's my mentality. Yes, Grab doesn't care either. Dude, if Grab stock doesn't go up, you think Anthony Tan's going to care? He's Anthony Tan, CEO. I mean, like, I imagine he cares about shareholders, but at the end of the day, if I went super leveraged on margin and borrowed $1 million and bet it on Grab, and Grab doesn't, or Grab options, and Grab doesn't go to the price I want it to get to in the next year, you think Anthony Tan's going to care? No, he's going to be like, you're an idiot. You shouldn't have done that shit. That was stupid. No one cares. No one freaking cares. It is difficult to break a Marxist mindset. I agree. I see, but I think, and you're right about that. When you have this type of mindset that like you're a victim and that everyone in the world should care about your problems, one, it's very narcissistic in my opinion, but two, it ignores the fact that to solve any problem that you think structurally exists in your life or in your demographic of humanity, you need influence. Like this was the game changer for me back in 2017 when I realized, really from that Chamath quote, that if I want to change the world, I need money and power. So no matter what I care about, no matter how much I complain about whatever structural system exists, if I don't have money or power, what the hell's going to happen? Nothing. And so I need the money. I need the power. Yeah, you have to solve yourself. Also, the happiest people I've met in life are the people that actually are accountable and do shit for themselves. The most unhappy people I've met are people that blame everything for being wrong. For like being wrong with their lives, right? They blame the system, they blame the government, they blame this, they blame that. And I'm not saying there's not value to putting on that blame, right? Like all this public pressure on Trump to release the Epstein files, that's good because you have accountability. You have the fourth state is the media, right? Like that stuff is important. But if you base your entire life on this one issue or this one issue or that one issue and say, I can't do anything on this until this issue gets resolved, how are you going to pay rent? Like you still got to eat. You still got to hopefully start a family one day. You still have to, if you have any dreams, you still got to chase those dreams. You can't be kind of worrying about politics when you have to chase dreams, when you have to work hard to build a legacy, build a life, which requires taking it into your own hands. Dude, what is my pulse on the Fitbit right now? 88 per minute. I'm at 88 a minute. Dude, I actually like this Fitbit. Actually, I've already done 919 steps. I only wore it like an hour ago. But this is going to be my thing now, dude. Maybe we do a daily like step, what do you call it? Update at the end of the market close. We got one for my grandpa who's here from India. He's been doing 15,000 steps a day. It's incredible. 15,000 steps a day. Like he's like 85 and he loves going outside and just getting his steps in. So Amid, how do you explain Martin Luther King's movement that was not driven by money? There have been movements in history that have not been rooted in money. That is fair. And a lot of those movements were against structural systems that were creating injustice, like real injustice. I think we can all acknowledge that. I'm talking about this century, and I'm talking about right now, and I'm talking about your own personal life. Look, if you want to be the next Martin Luther King or the next Nelson Mandela or someone who leads a legacy and changes the world, you have to go out on that journey. The one thing that's different from now versus the 1960s is that we are in an attention-driven age. We're in a media-driven age. And to get attention, to get media, to get people that care about you, you need to actually work to build that attention. By the way, even if Martin Luther King was not, rooted in a movement that dealt with money, he was able to cultivate attention. He was able to market the movement around civil rights. And that's why he was successful. You need to be charismatic. I mean, Mamdani, which is not like Martin Luther King, but a lot of the values of his movement are rooted in that idea of economic mobility and affordability and, at the end of the day, a socialist type of view versus just a pure free markets type of view. He has embraced social media to such an extent that the only videos that are relevant around the New York campaigns are his videos. That halal video that I showed you guys about him with the street vendors. I mean, like it got 15 million views. Like you need to know how to communicate in a modern media age. And that requires having an understanding of money, influence, and power, and the intersection of those three to actually come together. This is the ending of that clip with Chamath, last 2 minutes of this clip. Again, don't agree with him on everything, but I think he was dead right about these arguments.
In the absence of capital, you're irrelevant. With capital, you're powerful. And then you decide. in small ways, in medium-sized ways, in large ways, right? It just depends on the scale of capital that you have. And so that's what's necessary now in capitalism, which is that we have to come back to like, what is it really? Is it an economic system? Yes, but it is a philosophy as well, right? And it's a philosophy that says we will vote for the change we intend based on the views that we have. And when you look at the most successful people that operate in these tentacles, that's what they do. Look at the Koch brothers. That's what they do. They have built a network of influence based on capital. Their worldview is propagated into the world at an unbelievably aggressive rate that has been compounding for decades. That is genius. It is genius. It doesn't matter whether you agree with their worldview. The question is, what's the counterweight to their worldview? Can you name one? Can you name a group of people that operate in the exact same way, methodically, meticulously assembling capital, influence, assets, who believe the opposite? Irrespective of what you think of the Kochs, you want both views out in the world at scale. Well, right now you have this and you don't have this. I want a tip. And it's so, I mean, it gives me so much joy because it's like, you know, you'll have like a $300 or $400 bill. In some cases, you know, you tip $500 or $1,000 and you close it and they're expecting $40. And I mean, I get a little emotional, but like they will come out to you and it's transformational. And so it's so great. It's just like little things like that mean a lot to people. And just to be anonymously generous like that, I think is like, it's a great gift that I have the ability to do. That's why I do it. I love it.
And you need capital to do that. You need capital to do that. Comedy, thanks for the 10 super chat. He says, Amit, I agree with the core premise, but if you don't fight for the betterment of society and people didn't risk their lives for it, even what you're doing right now wouldn't be possible today. So I think there's two nuances to this. Number one, yes, especially in America, right? People gave up their lives for the freedom, which is why we have Memorial Day and July 4th and Independence Day. And we and I will be the first one to say, hey, that is something I'm eternally grateful for. And it makes me quite emotional because I have not given up my life for this country or even dared to put my life on the line for this country, but other people did. Having said that, now that we're living in this 21st century, when you say, if you don't fight for the betterment of society, what does that mean? What does that mean? If you don't fight for the betterment of society? Because part of the betterment of society is being able to give out, as Chamath said right there, a $500 tip. How do you do that? How do you give $500? If the living wage is not going to change, because in America, the minimum wage is $7.25 still. I know in some states it's different, but federally it's $7.25. If that's not going to change, because guess what? The politicians can't do shit. Then how are you going to be able to change a waitress's life one day by giving $1,000? Well, you need capital. You need influence. You need the ability to make your own money by doing your own work so that you can better society by being generous and altruistic, which, you know, I'm a big proponent of. And, you know, I've talked about many times the idea that if you are making massive returns in the market, to just even give a little bit of that back into the world in whatever generous way you can is an important thing. Now, if you're talking about the betterment of society in terms of leading some movement, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be some leader of a movement. I don't want to be Greta Thunberg. Because I think Greta Thunberg is full of shit. I think blocking the highway when someone has to take their pregnant wife to the hospital because you think that your concerns about climate change matters more than someone's pregnant wife is absolute bullshit. And so if that's the betterment of society, then we just have a different perspective on what it means to fight for the betterment of society, because I don't think that's fighting for anything. I think if Greta Thunberg builds a company one day or builds a massive media network that can educate more people about the issues of climate change, maybe that's a little bit different. Stopping in the middle of the road. Imagine if your wife was pregnant and you can't get to the hospital because some 15-year-old thinks that the world works in a certain way when they've barely experienced enough life to tell you how the world should be experienced. It's full of shit, in my opinion. And so I just think there's a lot of different perspectives to it. And the only thing you can be accountable for is yourself and your ability to create your own capital to do that. But if you don't have your own capital, you don't have your own freedom. How do you get there? How do you get there? Which is why we wear a watch that doesn't have the time, because the time is always now, ladies and gentlemen. This is consistent with what we introduced in the morning. I can't wait till I post this picture on Twitter, dude. The amount I'm gonna get flamed for. I'm gonna quote tweet the tweet where I said the time is always now, and I'm gonna tweet it with this watch, and we'll see what Chad says about it. So we'll see what Chad says. There you go. The time is always currently right now. Anyway, the reason we brought up this entire thing is just based on this idea that worrying about politics, I think, is a recipe for disaster. You cannot focus on the rest of the world when you're so focused about that. I think people should rather care about philosophy and learning about continental philosophy and analytical philosophy and Friedrich Nietzsche and Immanuel Kant and like going deep into like history and social studies versus caring about modern day politics. Because it's all talking heads that have their own agenda that are trying to influence you. That's why I keep telling people I would never want to become Ben Shapiro or Tucker Carlson or TYT. I don't care about influencing any audience that I have about abortion policies. I don't give a shit. I don't care. You can have your perspective. I can have mine. I do not care about imposing mine. I care about the markets and analyzing the markets. And when politics intersects with the markets, which it has been doing a lot, especially because Trump is so vocal and he intertwines all this stuff with the stock market, tariffs, all that, like all that stuff happens, right? You have to analyze it. But I don't care about imposing my beliefs on gun rights. I don't care. I have my own opinions on gun rights. I don't care if anyone agrees with what I think about the NRA or the Second Amendment. I truly don't care. It just fascinates me, these people that build a career off of them trying to get their ideology into other people about all these different political topics, that you're never going to get the world to agree with you, right? Because there's all these different nuances. But those people, the one credit I will give them, are fighting to get their ideas out into the world. They're fighting to have influence. They're fighting to get capital to be able to maintain that influence. And that's the route they want to go. I would rather talk about Farcoin, which was down 9% today, and somehow is still maintaining a $1.5 billion market cap. So it's a totally different perspective. It's a totally different perspective. All right, is that it? Rant done? Get Steve on this rant. Dude, I wish Steve could call in today. Steve would say the exact same thing. Steve, when Steve and I call, dude, we like never talk about politics. The one time it comes up, we'll talk about it for a little bit. We talk about the markets. We talk about the next stock. Talk about what he's, what particular nuance he's thinking about in regards to the macro. Like Steve and I talk a lot about the macro. I know he says he doesn't care about the macro, but he always talks about the macro. We talk about crypto. Like that's what we talk about. We don't talk about illegal immigration. Like he's just more concerned about the markets. Enough politics when Lambo. Dude, we got to get Matt on the show again because I think he can afford multiple Lambos at this point. And Rocket Lab staying at this $48 range probably means he could buy everyone in the chat a Lambo as well. So, Matt, we need to get you on the show. Sell me this pen. I did read Kant, The Groundwork for the Metaphysics of Morals. I did read Kant. I couldn't say the name of that book if I didn't read Kant. I read Kant. Kant is a great philosopher. I don't agree with him on everything, but, I think learning about Kant is more important than learning about politics because, that type of philosophy will influence your worldview in a fundamentally different way than just what CNN or Fox is saying. Politics impact the market? Yeah. And, I care about talking about politics in the context of the market. My point is just the hardcore Democrats or hardcore Republicans, I've never related to it because I don't care about all these hardcore issues. I care about which one affects the markets. That's it. That's how I'm going to vote. That's how I'm going to think about the broader markets. I'm not going to worry about all the different social issues that Democrats or Republicans are obsessed about. I just don't have enough to care. And I think the punchline to this is the people that say they care, they don't actually care. Because if they did care, they would be doing something about it. They get dopamine from talking about all the random shit they hear on CNN and Fox. They don't actually care. The fun thing about the markets is we get dopamine from seeing a candlestick up or down because our net worth can change, which means we have freedom, or at least we're closer to freedom. But the people that are obsessed with CNN and Fox all day or whatever other political show they're watching that fits their worldview, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of fulfilling their own dopamine of different ideas that they already agree with. And then they don't do anything about it. They go back to their regular life after they get their 30 minutes of someone telling them that Trump is the worst person in the world, or vice versa. And that's why I think it's just not that interesting to get deep into politics. TLDR, politics give you entries, but never exit due to politics. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Josh. Dude, Josh, we got Robin at earnings coming up, man. I think Josh also has 940 or 945 on the on the print. I'm more conservative. I have around 9.15. We got to see what Vlad delivers. My grab price target is 10 by 2027. Dude, I've been buying more grab. I've been buying a ton of grab shares. I'm building out a much larger share position at this point on grab. I'm really happy that it's been holding this range from like 520 to 540. And if we really get a breakout into Q2, not counting on it because I think they won't increase guidance. I think Q3 they'll increase guidance. If they do, maybe 650 is on the way. But we're going to need a decent guidance. Okay, what else? Do we have any other news after hours? I don't think Trump is saying anything crazy. No tweets from him. Yep, just the renovation tweet. I think that's pretty much it. I can't believe we saw them today wearing that hat, bro. Like, we really saw them wearing two hats together, talking about lowering interest rates and then patting him on the back. Like, that was crazy, bro. It's still crazy that we saw that. For those that didn't see it, let me pull this up and show you guys. I mean, I don't know, bro. That was wild. I wonder what J-Powell's going to say about that at the FOMC meeting as well, because, you know, ultimately J-Powell's going to have to probably take some questions on it. This was what happened for those that missed it.
I do. I'd fire him.
Do you think Mr. President thinks he wants to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So.
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. Other than that, what can I tell you? The country is doing really well. I just briefed the chairman on the deal we made with Japan. Japan is putting up $550 billion in order to lower their tariffs a little bit.
I cannot believe we saw that today, bro. It's a little bit of a nice slap on the back, right? That was just like, hey, you know, we talked about in the morning about physical confrontation. There you go. That was the extent of the physical confrontation we saw today with that pat on the back. And then when J. Powell laughed, it was such an awkward laugh, bro. It's just like, it really is it's almost like reality TV for the stock market. Like, this is why I think the next 3 years are going to be fun in the stock market, because with Trump every day, you literally have reality TV. I mean, you know, Trump in 2016, when Trump was running, I think I talked about this a while ago, but there was a debate I was in, and there's a French philosopher called Jean Baudrillard, and the entire argument that Jean Baudrillard, he was not a Marxist, but he critiqued capitalism a lot, and his major critique of capitalism was that capitalism is filled with contradictions and conundrums and paradoxes that ultimately lead to absurdity. AKA, this brand says this brand says this. Each of these brands have different perspectives, and then they infiltrate the media to get people and consumers to think in a certain way. And then you just have a ton of random shit that happens, especially in the context of health and food and the preservatives artificially that we have in our food, all this stuff. So it was a large critique of capitalism. And one of the major debate arguments back when Trump was running was that Trump is a contradiction. Everything about him contradicts everything else. The guy has lied God knows how many times. Like, we know the guy has lied like crazy, or at least he's contradicted himself like crazy. And his contradictions are the way that he operates. So when he says, hey, we're going to have 50% tariffs, and then 2 days later he says it's a great time to buy, no more tariffs, we're going to put it, 30, we're going to delay it by 3 months. And then when those 3 months come up, he says, hey, we're going to delay it by another 2 months. Like, it's all contradictions and paradoxes rooted in him trying to get his message out into the world, even if that message is confuzzled and filled with all these different contradictions. But that is what makes That is what makes the media so obsessed with him. The reason Trump got, I think, a couple $1 billion of earned media back in 2016 is because he would say the most wild shit and then act like he never said it. Like, remember when he said I could shoot someone on Fifth Ave and they would still vote for me? Like, who says that type of stuff? Well, Trump does. And then the media goes crazy covering it because they're like, dude, can you believe he's saying it? And then you would think, oh, there's a repercussion because you're a politician. You can't say that type of stuff. But then he just goes on with his life and he says even crazier shit. And then the media gets desensitized to what he's already said. And then he contradicts himself by saying, oh, I didn't mean it like that. I never meant to say it. Like, and it just turns into this one big hodgepodge of like, how do you analyze this guy? How do you try to understand what he's doing? And you can't. And to his credit, that's one of the reasons why negotiating has been so hard with him, because he's constantly keeping you on your toes, which, you know, if we did get some real concessions from China and we had to take away NVIDIA chips for a little bit and now we're giving it back, then I think that's a big win for Trump and a big win for the administration in terms of how they negotiated. But he's always been an enigma. And from a media perspective, I don't think we're going to have someone like him again in office. I think it would be very rare to have a leadership or a movement like MAGA take place with this type of a leader. But that's what we have right now. That is who Trump is. Price target on Duolingo. Dude, I hate this stock so much. I hate it so much. If I didn't have it, I'd be freaking winning. I wouldn't be winning because I wouldn't be Matt in the challenge, but I'd be very close. Like, I'd probably be neck and neck with Tanner for sure. This stupid thing is why I'm down. And if Tesla really tanks, I'm going to be falling further on this challenge. Matt is at 21%. I'm at 7. Tanner's at 10. Steve's at 2.5. Chris is at 0.54. Dude, imagine Matt didn't pick Dutch Bros or Berkshire. Like, Dutch Bros is down 17% and Matt is still up 21% all time. Imagine he just didn't pick Dutch Bros or Berkshire Hathaway and picked anything else that's like barely flat, maybe up 1 or 2%. I mean, he'd be up almost 30% for the freaking 2 months since we started this. It ends next year. Mid-year next year is when it's a year-long challenge. And then it will end. Look at him. Look at him trying to be humble. He's flexing so hard. Am I still winning? I haven't checked. Oh, you haven't checked, Matt? You haven't looked at it? You haven't kept up at all? You just happened to not know that you were winning? Interesting. Interesting. Didn't check. Look at him. He acts like he doesn't even care. He acts like he even doesn't care. Former Fed Governor Warsh said he'd be honored to serve if President taps him to be the Fed chair. Oh, that's Kevin Warsh. Yeah. Well, we know that. We know Kevin Warsh wants to be the next Fed chair. Intel's dumping hard. How bad? How bad is Intel? Intel was down 3%. Oof. It's down 5 now. It's down 5. Let's go back to all the earnings just to see how they ended out for the day. Intel down 5. Deckers up 8. Kinsale down 2. Boyd up 2. ASTS down 7. That's recovering a little bit. Deckers was the big one. They said they'll be increasing their prices a bit, but still beat on the top and bottom, which is decent for them given they were down 50% this year. AMD is, wow, AMD is moving after hours, almost 164. Is NVIDIA moving? No, NVIDIA is flat. Dude, what if AMD like breaks out and outperforms NVIDIA towards the end of the year? Like, it's been moving with NVIDIA, but what if NVIDIA just stalls and then AMD is the one that, like, I don't know, hits 220 or something by the end of the year? I don't think anyone can say that would be crazy given AMD's valuation is, you know, not 4 trillion to be able to keep expanding from. Yeah, he pulled a Steve about not even caring. He absolutely pulled a Steve about not even caring. And that is beating everyone else combined. Oh my gosh. Yeah, basically. AMD to 200 before NVIDIA. I don't think NVIDIA gets to 200 this year. I know Tanner does. He's pretty optimistic about it. I am a little bit more in the camp that it's going to be tough to move it that much, but Maybe we get the earnings. S&P 7,000, then yes, we get there. Which hopefully could be something that happens. Robin right here, 101.93, and then Palantir is 154.79 after hours. All right, folks. I think that's it. I think that is it. We will be back tomorrow. Actually, no, we'll be back tonight. So 9 p.m. We will have what do you call it? MicroStrategy deep dive, and we'll go deeper into that. And so we'll keep going from there. Yitzy, thanks for the $5 super chat. Mick, can you please mention the scams that are on every post on X that you post? It's a bit out of control. They look real. Okay, so this is an issue with X. Please, if you see an unverified account that has my profile picture, or if it's in your DMs, which I've gotten a lot of people messaging me saying, is this me? Just please know it's not me. It's not real. It's a lot of fake accounts that are trying to sell you on some private Discord or whatever. Just please ignore it. I would hope that most people that like get a DM by some random account in 2 seconds, they can figure out it's fake. Apparently that's not true. There's a couple people that have actually fallen for it and like sent $500. And I'm just like, dude, at some level, you got to be able to see that something's fake. So yes, I was not asking for nudes. That was not me. But apparently it's just, I don't know. They target so many people and you'll get that random person that ends up falling for it. And like someone messaged me the other day. They're like, hey, Amit, I was really seriously thinking of selling or like signing up for this program or whatever. Can you just confirm if it's real? And I'm like, how do you not realize it's fake? Like if you go to the profile, it's all fake. Like, but I guess some people, they're not that much on social media. So they know about me. So they see my name in their DM and they like, but I'm just like, it's all of this stuff is fake. None of this stuff is real. There's like tons of fake Matt Moneys. There's fake Tanners. There's fake Roys. There's fake me's. That like, if you have any presence on investing Twitter, there will be a fake account of you and try to scam people into doing something. So just please remember that none of that stuff is real, and don't sign up to a Telegram, because it is not going to it's not going to give you the promises that these people are offering. Yeah, there's so many fake Matt Moneys, dude. There's no fake Steves yet. Steve doesn't tweet enough. We got to get Steve to tweet more, and then there'll be fake Steves, but no fake Steves yet. Is Matt Money in this chat fake? No, Matt Money in this chat is not fake because he doesn't even check the spreadsheet. So we know that he's not fake. He's so confident in his investing capabilities, he doesn't have to check the spreadsheet. The fake Matt Money would check it at this point. So no nudes. Yes, no nudes. No feet pics. There's a lot of fake Jeremys, bro. There's just so many of this stuff. And you got to just be able to ignore. All right, cool. That's it. We'll be back later tonight. MicroStrategy. We'll go deeper into that. Tomorrow is Friday. Dude, how is it already Friday? Dude, I don't like that life is moving so fast. I really don't like it. Someone's got to stop this. This is getting a bit ridiculous, bro. How is it Friday tomorrow? Did it feel like this week went by? Oh, money market funds. We got inflows. We didn't check that. We get that every Thursday. That's a nothing burger. 9 billion increase. 9 billion increase. It's a nothing burger. 7.07 trillion, 9 billion increase last week. Maybe I wore the Christmas sweater because like I want time to slow down, which doesn't make that much sense because technically if we get to Christmas, time would be speeding up. But still, I want time to slow down, bro. Like, why does it move so quick? I don't get, like, I asked the question on Twitter the other day and some people were like, well, if you are in a routine and you're like moving throughout the day and you're doing stuff, it feels like time is fast. But if you're like kind of not doing anything all day or you're just like, bored all day, then time's moving slow. And that's fair because when you're doing stuff, obviously like life is moving by, but still it's going too fast. It's going way too fast. Just slow down your watch. Well, yeah, maybe getting rid of the freaking time could make it go slower. Like maybe that's the key here. But if you didn't spend all day live streaming, it wouldn't move quick. No, but even the market open, bro, it'll like, you'll blink and it's 12 p.m. And I'm like, did we even talk about anything yet? How is it 12? How's it been 3 hours? What have we been talking about for 3 hours? Why is life moving so quick, dude? How can anyone be bored all day? Dude, when I was in 2022, when I was doing my consulting firm and I was driving up and down New Jersey, like 70 miles back and forth, I was bored all day. I mean, I was doing stuff on the side, but like I was bored because it's like you don't want to be there, right? Sometimes if you're doing a job you don't like, or you just like don't care enough about it, you're just waiting for time to. You think time's not moving fast enough, right? You're waiting for the clock to hit 5 p.m. and get out of there. But my work was like from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. and it would take an hour to get home because it was 70 miles up and down. So like I wouldn't be home until like 11 p.m. every day. And that's when time was moving very slow. The one thing money can't buy, more time. Yes, that is also true. Rant number 3. Oh my God, dude. Every time, I think we need the rant intro. Like when you guys start spamming rant and I know I'm about to go on a rant, we just roll the intro and like we make that a chapter on the stream and it's like, it's time to rant. But the ranting is important sometimes because whether you agree or disagree with it, it offers a different perspective on life. And we probably intertwine it to markets in some way. And I think the rant we did today about not caring about politics and caring more about what changes your life is intrinsically rooted in like the nature of markets as a vehicle for freedom versus politics as a vehicle for brain rot. And, you know, some of those rants, I think, hopefully not only are informative and entertaining to an extent, but also valuable. And then you guys are just like peer pressuring in the chat and nudging it along and want time for a rant about rants. Dude, I feel like the rant thing is just because I yap a lot and then my mind moves in so many directions. And then like, dude, honestly, I can't even explain to you guys how fast my mind is moving at certain moments. Like, okay, I've never really talked about this too much, but I think I talked about it a while ago, but yeah, I talked about this like a year ago. There's a lot of new people here, so you probably never heard me say this before, but I have OCD. Now, that may be not a surprise to a lot of you, but like, yeah, of course, I knew you have OCD just by the way you talk. But I'm not talking about just OCD. I'm talking about like OCD. Like I'm talking about obsessive compulsive disorder. Like I'm diagnosed with OCD. My dad has it. My grandpa has it. My mom doesn't have it. My sister has a mild version of it, but I have what my dad has. Now, what type of OCD am I talking about? I'm just going to give you a simple example. It's gotten a lot better over the past 15 years, but it was pretty bad when I was in middle school. There are certain types of OCDs where it's obsessive compulsive disorder, meaning you are obsessed to do something in a compulsive way. It's almost like you're feeling your brain is forcing you to do something. And if you don't do it, you feel like there's an issue. So for my dad, he has a lot of them, but like one that I remember very well from when I was little is checking the door. So when he would drive me to school, I would get in the car. I'd wait for him to close the door. He would be going to work and he would close the door and then he would get in the car. He would get out of the car after he just checked the door to see it was locked and he would go back to check it again. He would get back in the car. We would start driving. The school's about 10 minutes away. 2 minutes into the drive, he would turn around the block, come back to the house, get out of his car to check the door to see if it was closed. Like, that's not a normal type of OCD. That's a type of like your brain cannot feel satisfied with checking the door to make sure it's locked because of like literally an issue, an obsessive compulsive disorder that you have. And there is some medication to be able to deal with that, but my dad never took medication. Ultimately, you have to train yourself to not be obsessed with the compulsion. And there's a lot of different compulsions. I mean, I've done some research on this, but there was one that I looked into a couple years ago. It was a lady who couldn't make left turns. She was like afraid of doing left turns. Like a grocery store that's 10 minutes away, it would take her an hour on the highway to get to the grocery store because she cannot make the left turn. And I know some people are like, oh, well, you know, I check my door too, or I'm like always a little nervous if I turn the gas off or not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who physically cannot like function. They will be like literally jittering. It's almost like someone who's like on drugs and they're jittering because their mind is going crazy over the compulsion that they have not been able to meaningfully solve in their mind. It's essentially a ritual-based type of activity. And a lot of people have different rituals. So when I was younger, what was my ritual? It was the same thing. It was checking if the light was off. It was checking if I closed the door when I left a room. when I got older, it was like, hey, is my car locked? I would go back to see if my car's locked. Now I've gotten a lot better of that. And the thing that's really nuanced about this is your mind goes to a really bad place. So for example, let's say I lock the car and then my mind is like, oh, you didn't actually lock the car. You have to go check if the car is locked. But then you tell yourself, no, I just fucking checked the car. It's locked. Your mind will say, hey, you're going to die in the next hour if you don't check the car again. I know it sounds insane, but this is like what I've had to deal with is what my dad had to deal with. And my grandpa, he passed away 2 years ago, but I literally saw him deal with the same type of stuff because he would work at my dad's liquor store and I could see the way that he would act in the store and he was doing these like rituals and compulsions and I could tell like he had the same issue. And then it says like, it's like, okay, if you're not going to die, something bad's going to happen. Something bad's like you would tell yourself, oh, something bad is going to happen to the people I love. And then it's like, forget if I'm going to die or something bad's going to happen to me. I need to protect my loved ones. I need to go check if the car is locked. And it sounds insane because it's like nothing's going to happen to your loved ones, even if the car is unlocked. It's like maybe someone jacks your car, but like that's, so, you know, your family who's doing something else at that top part of the day are not just going to drop dead and like, you know, something bad's going to happen. But like the compulsion that it could happen is an issue. And yes, now I just check for red or green obsessively. Why do I bring this up? The reason I bring this up is because although I've gotten better at the lack of rituals, which I still have them from time to time, like just like random, you know, little things back and forth. Like, I mean, stupid stuff like, hey, is this thing plugged in the right way? Or if it's not plugged, maybe I take the plug out, like just little stupid things that happen here or there because you never always get rid of the rituals and it's just randomly there. The reason I'm bringing it up is because if you get the rituals to subside, the one thing that's hard to get away is how fast your mind moves. Your brain moves really quick. And it's actually a little bit of a superpower when it comes to streaming because you need to talk about so many different topics and connect so many different ideas and then have those ideas turn into things that people can listen to. And in order to do that, you need to be able to bring a lot of concepts and ideas together. But the disadvantage here is that when you get an idea, your mind can kind of wander into a different topic. And then that topic can end up turning into what has been referred to on the channel as a rant. Now, the good thing about the rant is that based on the communication skills from debate, which was really important to kind of manage my OCD, as my mind wanders into a topic, I can bring so much information and ideas that I want to put together. Like the fact that I even remembered that Chamath clip, right? Like that is rooted in my mind moving so fast of like, hey, how can I prove this argument? How can I get this idea? How can I justify this idea? Okay, I need a source of truth. Where do I get a source of truth from? How do I get an evidentiary claim for the argument that I'm trying to make? Okay, I remember this thing that happened in 2017. Oh, I remember I was listening to this and I felt a certain type of way. Okay, let me bring up the clip. And then when Chamath talks, then I take that clip and I analyze that clip and I bring it back to the idea. That is how my mind runs constantly. And it's a form of OCD, but it's also a form of a superpower, in my opinion, because to stream and to make content, you constantly need to be able to talk about stuff and discuss. And I like that. And I enjoy that. And I think, you know, the audience sometimes gets a lot of value from that, especially when there's so much breaking news happening. Like when you have 20 earnings that you're looking at back and forth, even Tesla and Google, we had so many numbers going back and forth. You need the ability to kind of synthesize everything happening all at once. However, the ritual-based part of OCD sucks. And it's not it's not fun. Like it's really, really not fun. And my dad still has it, bro. Like my dad will literally freaking call me from work just to check if like he left the gas off. Like he will not trust that he turned off the gas. He will call me during the show when I can't pick up. And then after the show is over, I'm like, hey dad, what's up? He's like, can you check if the gas is closed? And it's like, my OCD is not, and my dad's 65, you know, I'm going to be 28. And I hope that when I turn 65, I'm not as rooted in those obsessive compulsions. And I don't think my dad's ever really dealt with it because my dad's probably never even known what to do with OCD. But my mom recognized, you know, good credit to my mom. She recognized I had OCD back when I was like 5 years old. My mom recognized I had OCD when I was organizing my toys versus playing with them. She recognized that at a young age. And that's when she first took me to the doctor. She was like, why does he organize his toys, like action figures, wrestlers, all this stuff, versus like play with them? Like I was more obsessed of making sure everything was set in stone and was clean and was proper than actually playing with the toys. And that's when she was like, okay, he might have some compulsions that are obsessive on like how he organizes stuff versus how he actually, you know, enjoys the toys that he's supposed to be playing with at 5 years old. So my mom recognized when I was younger and tried to like make it very evident to me to like not worry about organizing versus playing with stuff. And there, you know, there's probably other ways that's rooted in different types of issues mentally, but the OCD thing has always been there. And again, I don't say it lightly, dude. I know some people say they're OCD because they think like it sounds cool. Like people have always said that, like, oh, I'm OCD about this. And whenever someone says it's so cringe because I'm like, you don't really know what OCD is, bro. Like when people say, oh, I'm so OCD about this, it's like an adjective for like, oh, this like matters to me. It's like, dude, real OCD, like a real case of OCD is you cannot survive until you check the door again. And if you don't check the door, you know, you really feel like something bad is going to happen. The way to resolve it, by the way, someone was asking, how do you deal with not doing the rituals, is to just not do the rituals. If you do the rituals, you give in to whatever stupid thing is in your brain telling you that something bad is going to happen if you don't do the rituals. I know a kid who washes their hands so they bleed. Dude, the washing the hands stuff is a major part of OCD. A lot of it has to do with being germophobic and all that stuff, but a lot of that is also rooted with being obsessively compelled to like, hey, I need to wash my hands because if I don't wash my hands, something bad is going to happen. A lot of times it's not even about like the germs on your hand. It's about, hey, if I don't keep doing this, something bad will happen. And if you don't resolve that bad thing that's going to happen in your brain, then you feel like you're responsible or guilty for something bad happening. And that's obviously not the best thing in the world. Yes, you cannot feed the voices with action, 100%. Pulling out hair is another one. That's really hard. Biting your nail. I never had to worry about the biting my nails, but a lot of people, some people bite their nails because they're like, you know, they bite their nails, but like other people bite their nails because they literally have OCD around biting their nails. I've got diagnosed with OCD, which got terrible in 7th grade. It was ruminative, but not as physically compulsive. It takes me about 4 hours to read 20 pages. Exposure therapy helped. It's a real thing. It is a real thing for a lot of other people. And it's not the same as ADHD. I don't think I'm ADHD. There are some people that are genuinely diagnosed with ADHD because, you know, they literally can't focus on one thing. And it's like, it's part of how their brain works. I would say focusing on something is not hard for me, especially because we're focusing on so many topics every day on the show. And I try to present the best analysis on what I'm focusing on. But the ritual-based OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, that I had when I was younger at a very aggressive state. And it took a while to like get rid of it. And it's still not fully gone, but I think the connecting of ideas is the superpower part that you get from OCD. Because again, the reason I'm saying connecting ideas is because when you have OCD and you're saying, okay, if I don't check the garage door to see if it's locked, something bad is going to happen. It's a string of events that gets you to that argument, right? Like, oh, if I don't check the garage door, then what if something slips through the garage door? Okay, what if like an animal or something slips through the garage door? Okay, the animal slips through the garage door. That's the first step of logic. Now the animal tears up the couch. That's the second step of logic. Now, the tearing up the couch means that you're responsible to pay for a new couch. That's the fourth step of logic. Then your parents are mad because you didn't close the garage door and an animal ripped up the couch and now they have to pay more money. That's the fifth step of logic. Then you feel that your parents are going to hate you because you're not a good enough human being because like you messed up and you left the garage door open. That's another thing. Then you're like, well, you know, will my parents even love me in the future because I'm such a horrible kid and I'm costing them $5,000 to fix up the couch? Like it just goes into all these different steps of shit that could happen if you don't complete the ritual, even though you already know the garage door is definitely closed. And that thought process is kind of what I bring to these streams in terms of how do we connect all these different ideas going back and forth and build them into content when it comes to analyzing the markets. Weed is not going to help. Like weed, I feel like will just make it worse, bro, because you get paranoid on weed. I know there's different types of weed that don't make you paranoid, but for some people it helps. I don't think for everyone that has OCD it can't help. How many times per day do you check your portfolio? Okay, that is I don't think I check my portfolio from an obsessive compulsive angle. I just check it to see if we're making money or not. But you get my point, right? I think a lot of you guys can relate to it. You probably know someone or you probably have had this experience where, you know, OCD has affected your life. I don't know how we went from what I was talking about to OCD, probably because of my OCD to bring it to this conversation, but there you go. That's how we do these streams. Where are the futures? And then we'll end it out for today. I think futures are slightly green. What do we have? Yeah, we're slightly green. We're up about 0.5%. We're up about 0.5%. Dude, as long as we end out July in this 635 range, I'll be happy. But if we don't, then I think it's lookout below for August. Let's end it with this one poll in the chat. I mean, again, I wrote it on Twitter today. I am so curious on if we actually get that August slump that everyone's been saying is going to happen. Do we get an August pullback? I'm talking about at least 5%. Because if we don't get that, then we can survive August, September. We end up in the Santa Claus rally. I think it could still be a really fun year. And the fact that the S&P, even with Tesla down 7% today and Google not moving, hit all-time highs. I mean, that to me is pretty incredible. Why is AMD up? I don't know. AMD was moving after hours. I don't think we have a reason for that. AMD. Oh, dude, she's really moving. She's hitting 52-week highs after hours. I will check to see if there's some news. Dude, that's almost 165. My ETF will like that tomorrow. TSMC. Okay. TSMC delays second Kumamoto factory to first half of 2029. Why is that bullish for AMD? Why is that bullish? What is the Kumamoto? I don't even know what that is. TSMC. Is TSM down or are they up? TSM's up too. Okay. I have no idea if that's bullish or bearish, but the market obviously thinks it's not bearish if TSM and AMD are up. Okay, I'll try to get some more details on that, but that's fine. And then we have another headline. Oh yeah, I saw this in the morning. NVIDIA chips worth $1 billion were smuggled to China despite Trump-era export controls, according to the Financial Times. That's not a surprise to anybody. I mean, I think everyone knows that they were smuggling those chips from somewhere. Dude, what is the Kumamoto factory? I feel like a delay is bearish, but I mean, the market doesn't think so. Let me see. Kumamoto factory TSM. I don't see any information on this other than it's going to be delayed, but I guess for some reason that could be affecting AMD. ASML after hours, that one's flat. Not seeing much. Intel earnings decline, so other chips love it. Yeah, but Intel losing, does that really mean AMD goes green? I mean, it could, because Intel and AMD actually do compete in the CPU market, but it's a nice move after hours. AMD doesn't move that much. And then is NVIDIA flat or is NVIDIA moving? NVIDIA, no, it's an AMD thing. It's not even a semiconductor thing. This has to be AMD specific, or else you would see the semis getting some love. And that is not happening. Bought 3,000 shares of AMD at 82. Happiest person at the moment. Dude, congrats. That is not bad. 3,000 shares at 82. People can't say they didn't have time to buy these shares because wow, 165.30. Dude, I don't know if it's that TSMC news, but it's something that's putting her higher. I feel like I would see the news by now, bro. That's a big move after hours. You would see something cross the headlines. I'm seeing nothing. No, I'm still seeing nothing. And the S&P is flat, so it's not like it's a market thing. There's a lot of bullish option flow that came in today. A lot of people bought the 175 call for a month out. But I don't think there's any other reason. It might be algos. Yeah, I mean, dude, Grab, that was a fake pump after hours, right? Grab got to 590. So, but AMD is way bigger than Grab. So, just more people know about it. 165.40. There she goes, up 2%. It might be something specific for AMD. Yeah, she met with Trump yesterday, but again, that's also old news. We looked at Lisa Su's interview this morning. I mean, I don't think there's anything that wild. LiDAR partnered with NVIDIA. That's why they went up today. But that is a very small cap company. I don't know. Maybe it's just Intel. Maybe it's Intel going down. Therefore, AMD goes up. Intel's still down 4% right here. AMD is up 2. All right, folks, that's it. I'm actually going to end it now. We're done for the day. Thank everybody for being here. We'll be back at 9:30 talking about MSTR. And we'll keep going from there. Dude, how is it July 24th? How is it Thursday? I cannot believe tomorrow. It feels like a Monday and tomorrow's Friday. I cannot believe it. Time is moving past way too fast. Way too freaking fast. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Don't say Trump is speaking. Do not say Trump is live. Goodness, bro. I don't drink any caffeine, by the way. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink any of this stuff. So this is all you guys. You guys give me the energy every single day. So thank you all for being here. We'll be back at 9:30. If anyone cares about MicroStrategy, we'll be live. And yeah, then we'll be back tomorrow on the market open to end out what apparently is the end of the week somehow, because it's almost Friday. You are on something. Dude, a lot of people have personally reached out to me and they're like, hey, dude, are you on Adderall? And I'm like, no, like, I don't I don't even know what Adderall looks like, bro. Like, is it pink? Is it white? Is it like, I've never even seen what I don't do perks. I want to try out perps though, the future perpetual contracts. I do want to try, but I'm like, I've never like really been that deep into drugs. 65% of you said yes, we get an August pullback. 65% of you. Maybe it's the Tylenol, bro. Maybe it's the Tylenol. No, I don't take OCD meds. I've never taken OCD. It's never been that bad where I like it's gotten bad in my head, but it's never been like, dude, I need medicine or else I can't function. So I've never really been taking meds or addicted to medicine or like prescriptions or anything like that. You know, I've never been addicted to alcohol either. I know a lot of people like I've socially drank alcohol, and you guys have seen me drunk on stream on New Year's Eve. I'm so light, dude. After the second shot of Jaeger, I was like slurring my words and shit. Like, we got to do it again. It'll be fun. Maybe in the new, dude, I think on the new apartment, like one of the first streams should be just an apartment stream, not even a market stream. And we need some alcohol. So maybe we'll do that. But yeah, I've just never been addicted to different substances. So. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'll be back for MicroStrategy, and then we'll be back tomorrow on the market open. Matt might be in New York in September, so maybe Maddie joins me on a stream, and maybe we get some Jaeger and have a good stream. So yeah, Matt might be there in New York. Might have a couple people coming to New York in September for some stuff. So. Hopefully they'll be on stream as well. All right, I'm leaving for sure. Finally, I'm out. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys later for MicroStrategy, and then tomorrow on the market open. You know, one thing that I've always thought about in life. No, I'm just kidding. I'm out. I'm done. Just want to let you guys know the time is always now. Just making sure everyone understands the time. Dude, one day we've got to do a stream where I say I'm out and I'm leaving like 10 times and I actually don't leave. We got close to that on the Grok 4 stream where I think it was like 2 a.m. and I teased it like 4 times. We got to do it one time where it's like a lot of times. Because that would be funny. That would be funny. You guys had to replace the battery. How do you replace the battery on a watch, bro? Where's the battery? I don't even know how to I don't even know where you would be able to do that, but I'm going to post a picture on it and we'll see what happens. All right, cool. That's it. I'm officially Ben's like, bro, can I go to my family? All right. Yes, I'm out. I don't want to keep you guys hostage, especially because we're not ranting anymore. And that's it. We'll be done for today. Call Steve. No, we're not. If I call Steve, we'll be on for like another 2 hours, bro. We'll be on too much. All right. We're out. Legit this time. Goodbye. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll be back tomorrow on the Market Open. Actually, no, today. I feel like I've said this a billion times. I'll be back today for MicroStrategy, tomorrow for the Market Open. So I feel like I'm becoming a robot, dude, just saying it over and over again every time. And I'll see everybody later. And we'll keep going from there. Dude, some of these comments, like my wife is calling me. I've got to go. All right, legit. I'm out. Bye, everybody. I'll see you guys later tonight. Bye, everyone.